always remember when I did not understand how I used to stand under all the fool's rules running these lands. I had my head in the sand and I was asleep. Now I learn a little more every day, and I'm waking the sheep. Gonna say it out loud, say it proud, get it out, 'cause I'm burning inside, cannot hide it no more. I'm a raconteur too. Yeah, I'm a raconteur too. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. All the people in the chat room singing. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. One more time now. Oh, I'm a raconteur too.
Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News. My name is not Jason Holmes, and welcome to Easter Monday night. We didn't know whether we was going to do a show, but we've got quite a few guests lined up, so we thought we'd better come on. And this one tonight is a particularly important one because Kaz is somebody who's been on, I've lost count of how many shows, it must be half a dozen or thereabouts. And Kaz got some special information to give out tonight. So I've had a fantastic weekend. I've been nicely chilled out. A little fraught few minutes before we got on air, sorting everybody's technical issues out. But I think we're good to go now. So without any further ado, I'll bring Kaz on and introduce her. Good evening, Kaz. How are you doing, mate?
You alright, Andy?
I'm very good. So,
everyone?
Sorry?
I said, you alright, everyone?
Oh, yeah, they'll be all
Not that
right.
everyone can answer, but it's
That-
always nice to acknowledge them.
That's right, yeah. Well, for those who are not familiar with you, Kaz, can you just give us a little bit of a background, what this is all about? Because if we just went straight into your update, it would kind of leave a few people with their head spinning a bit. So,
I don't know what you're doing there, but something's making a right bloody racket. I have been working for survivors of child abuse for the last 6 years. I've been working with the government and their inquiry into child abuse for the last 2 years. Spent half of last year suicidal on their behalf. Became a co-participant with the inquiry. After, surprisingly, I became disillusioned with the inquiry. I mainly became co-participant so I could get in as deep as I could to find all the problems with it.
yeah.
And now I know what they are. I'm running away as fast as I can.
Fair comment, mate. Yeah. So,
I contacted my solicitor 2 weeks ago, telling him I was withdrawing from the inquiry and that his services were no longer required. That was subject heading of the email was, your services are no longer required.
yeah.
To me, that is sacking a solicitor.
It sounds pretty comprehensively like that's what you're doing, yeah.
Told him that I would personally contact the inquiry to tell them of my withdrawal once I had managed to air a few problems with them. So again, to me, that says that I am telling them, not him. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd already told the inquiry what I was going to do and that I didn't want him paying for any more work on my behalf because he wasn't worth the money.
Okay.
I then got an email back from him telling me that if I sent him a small statement, he would incorporate it in his letter to the inquiry and inform them for me that I was withdrawing. I then got a letter the following week telling me to contact the office either by telephone or email so that I could be informed of the next steps of withdrawing from the inquiry. That doesn't sound like somebody that knows that they're sacked.
No, it's a very strange situation there. We've got quite a booming going on. We've got 4 people on the call. I don't get that. Oh, I do. Yes, I do. Sorry.
But yeah, they don't seem to understand the point of fuck off, you're sacked.
Right. It. I suppose this landing over this particular weekend makes it very difficult for you to be chasing any of that up. But it looks
Well,
like.
no, I contacted the inquiries, told them I'd had this contact from the solicitors, and they told me that they can't deal with me anymore until the solicitor tells them that he's been sacked.
Oh, okay.
And that until he's done that, they can't engage with me.
That's.
Whether he hasn't done that yet, 2 weeks after I sacked him.
That is a really, really, really strange situation.
Now, this solicitor handles most of the clients on the accountability and reparation investigation.
Okay.
The solicitor is Howe & Co.
Right.
The solicitor himself is David Enright.
Right.
Just a warning for anyone looking for a solicitor for the inquiry, don't go to Howe & Co. Because they don't know fuck off you sack. Which I'm sorry is the most simple instruction for any solicitor.
Yeah, fair comment. I'm just going to boost your volume up a bit there, Kaz, because I'm just hearing from Leeds in the chat room that you're a bit quiet, so hopefully that'll boost your volume a bit more.
Shall I sit a bit closer?
That would be
Does that help?
awesome. That would be awesome, yeah.
I hate sitting close to the camera, you know that.
Well, we all do, but you know, needs must when the needs must when the devil drives is the saying, and it certainly sounds like you've got some demons in your case. I mean,
No. Since then, I've had some right fun and games, mate.
all right.
I've had some right fun and games with my local council.
Oh, what have they been up to then?
Well, recently, a friend of mine, she was chased out of her home by the local council. Her nephew died in her arms in the home that she'd had for 18 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had a mental breakdown.
Oh,
She was given no grief counselling, no support around it. And because she had a bit of a mental breakdown, she got into arrears on the arrears repayments for the council tax. 2 months arrears on this repayment agreement, and they left her out of the house.
Jesus Christ.
A 43-year-old woman on her own, having just had her nephew die in her arms. Yeah. This is somebody that went into care as a childhood, so didn't have the best start in life.
Mm-hmm.
She bounced around sofa surfing for a bit because the council never told her they had this obligation to rehouse her. She ended up with a violent boyfriend, jumped out of the window to escape him one night, got put out into the freezing cold and snow another night by him, and landed on my sofa.
Bloody hell.
Took her to the council. Now, the first guy we saw was fantastic. He did everything he could for her. And he put her into a guest house for the weekend. We went back down to the council on the Monday for her to be told, well, no, you shouldn't have gone into the guest house. He was totally against policy there. You should have been left to sofa surf.
Yeah.
This is a 43-year-old woman fleeing violence in the middle of winter.
Well, there's one word that springs to mind that everybody seems to be either avoiding or glossing over, and that is vulnerable. When you've got vulnerable people, you've got to do risk assessments. You've got to take into account what damage that your actions are going to do to them. But it seems like people are totally disregarding that. It almost looks like people really don't give a shit, doesn't it?
She's been on the sick for the last 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And she was told to carry on sofa surfing.
Yeah, I mean, my experience of being homeless, all right, I wasn't in those kind of circumstances, but the kind of help I got from my family, I was sofa surfing, and on the advice of the social worker that was appointed to me, I ended up living in shop doorways. So yeah, they didn't do me any favours. They told me what they told me to do would get me housed, but yeah, it might have done, but it might have took 3, 4 or 5 years to do so. So it really wasn't a lot of help in my situation. Thankfully, I met some good people who helped me through that sticky patch, and I'm kind of pretty much okay now. But so it do. Oh, whoever it is who keeps ringing Jason on Skype, can you please not do that while we're on there? If you're listening.
Yeah, thank you. But on top of all this, I mean, like I say, she's been on sick for the last 20 years, so she's on ESA, she's on PIP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they told her to get any rent, she would have to go on universal credit and lose all of her disability premiums.
Right, yes, because you told me that there is a little trick they're using there, which a lot of people aren't aware of, and I think it would be doing a great service to our listeners if you pointed out what the little trick is they're using there, Kaz.
On universal credit, there is a bit on the application that tells you may be entitled to other benefits. Nobody goes off and applies for the other benefits. It's like on ESA, there is a bit on the form that says you may be entitled to other benefits, and it lists including universal credit. And you apply for only the housing benefit portion of universal credit.
Right.
You don't cancel your ESA application, your ESA claim, you just apply for the housing benefit portion. Because it is another benefit you are entitled to.
But if you go through,
as long as you don't fill out the income portion, other than to say you are receiving such and such, you are entitled to claim that rent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I think that is very useful information. So essentially what is happening to people now, they're being just given this form saying you need to fill this out with no detailed explanation of which parts you need to fill out and which are optional, and people are filling in the whole form, and suddenly they're losing all their entitlements and just ending up with universal credit. And I think most people get stopped their benefits for about 6 weeks when they go on there, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine down south who got put in a very, very dodgy position with that happening to her. Yeah.
And it was actually confirmed by one of the managers at Kirklees Council.
Right.
I'd gotten into an argument with one of the guys one day. He was telling my friend to claim universal credit so she could get some rent. And I was telling him, no, if she fills out the full application, she will lose money. She will lose her disability premiums. Oh, no, she won't. No, she won't. No, she won't. And I told him, yes, she will.
Uh-huh.
You are giving her false information. The following day, the manager dealt with my friend. And she said, well, yeah, your friend was right. You only need to fill in this portion, because that's all you're claiming.
Yeah.
You're not altering your claim for anything else. You're just looking to claim housing benefit, which falls under this paperwork. So, yeah, not explaining the paperwork is their biggest get-out clause ever. We all know that.
Yes, I mean, it does seem so indicative of what councils, benefit officers are doing. They're leading people into these little bloody traps, and people are ending up in a right mess because of it. Yeah, there seems to be no responsibility or accountability being taken by the councils for the damage that their action is causing.
No duty of care.
Yeah, duty of care.
When you put her out on the street, there was no duty of care, even though they had a responsibility to house her.
Yeah.
She'd been there for 18 years in a council house.
Bloody hell.
2 of her kids had been born while she was living in that house. You know? But
Right.
they put her out on the streets. And then charged her because they had to get rid of all her shit out of her house because she had nowhere to take it.
Bloody hell.
So now she's a grand in debt with the council, so they won't rehouse her.
But this debt has only been caused by their not observing their duty of care, essentially, hasn't it?
Yeah, the majority of it, yeah.
I mean, really, someone in a vulnerable position and going through, I don't think would be over dramatic to call it a major life crisis. They're going to have these issues with their finances, and you know, there's got to be allowances made for that sort of thing. But there just doesn't seem to be any humanity at all in these bloody form fillers and pen pushers.
She'd been through care herself because of her mother. Her kids went into care because of her inability to cope.
Yeah.
Her nephew died in her arms, and then they took her out. And then they expected to sofa surf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then people wonder why I'm not staying in Kirklees.
Mm.
People wonder why I'm going.
Well, all I can
I've had
say,
enough.
Kaz, it sounds like it's a damn good job that your friend had you on her side helping her out. Otherwise, she'd be in a lot worse mess than she already is in.
I got nowhere.
So you've got nowhere with her at all.
No. She's having to stay out of town
Bloody hell.
because she's too frightened to come back.
Jesus.
Because she's got nothing here apart from a sofa.
So essentially, she's having to hide away from her problems because...
Violence.
Yeah. That's a terrible situation, so...
Her kids are over here,
Uh-huh.
so she's no access to them while she's having to hide. The hostels and the women's refuges told her that because it would be shared accommodation with families,
Yeah.
she couldn't go there. And the only other placements they had for her, well, it wouldn't be practical or suitable because she wasn't a recovering addict.
Oh, that's strange. That I have noticed that if you're a drug addict or a recovering drug addict, there is all kinds of help for you. But
Oh, yeah.
if you're clean and you've got problems, tough shit. Get on with it. Deal with it yourself.
Because she'd been clean for 2 years, no place. 6 weeks clean, and she could have been in all kinds of hostels and refuges.
Yeah. Terrible situation, absolutely. So, you did mention that you're leaving Kirklees.
Yeah, I've had enough.
So,
I'm heading southwards.
heading south. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, I thought I might call down and see Owen for a bit,
Oh,
who you had on last week.
Owen, yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
'Cause that sounded like a fine life, did that.
Well, all you need is a yurt, he says.
Well, no, I've seen his bedrooms. I can put up with a compost toilet.
Too right.
Yeah, she was a fool to bloody leave him.
Well, yeah, we know that, but I mean, Owen's a grand chap, and I hope that one day we'll be able to get down there and visit him, because it looks like his little bit of Portugal is an absolute corner of paradise. I hope you're listening,
Oh, yeah.
Owen, and I understand if you are listening, you've had quite a few listeners contacting you and getting tapping you for as much information as they can, and well done for sharing that information with people, because it is a big step. moving to a foreign country, if it's something you've not done before or not done in the last 10 years, there's going to be all kinds of pitfalls. And if you've got somebody like Owen who can help people out with those or point out some of the pitfalls to avoid, then that's really why I got him on. And I think it's, a good service that we can give to our listeners.
Oh, yeah. I think he should start a blog.
Owen?
Yeah.
Now, there is an idea, yeah. Yeah,
Just
that'll...
putting it out there. Sorry, Owen.
Yeah, come on, Owen. We've got a job for you, mate.
There's no money in it, but...
Well, he can be our Portuguese correspondent till he gets that. Yeah, we are getting a reach out around the world. I was quite gobsmacked to. I had a little look on the live traffic on the website when we were doing the preview show last night, and there was somebody signed up for an account from Switzerland. So I thought, whoa, that's cool. So we're certainly getting word around.
Now that could just be somebody with a VPN.
It could, yeah. But given
take that into account.
Given the name and the email address, I would say it probably was a Swiss national.
Right. But no, you always have to, with statistics now, you always have to take into account your VPN. Yeah? Because you can never rely on where somebody actually says they are.
No. People can mislead you about that, yeah.
We know that by now.
Oh, yeah.
Or we should do.
So, are you going to fill us in on what your plans are for the future then, Kaz? Because this has been a big part of your life for many, many years, and surely you're going to need to have a bit of a rethink, aren't you?
Well, I've got a few ideas in the air. Primarily, I'm looking at maybe buying some land.
Whoa. Yeah, land's always good stuff.
Unsure yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't be in the country.
Okay.
Like I say, I'm thinking of going down and seeing Owen.
Yeah.
I'll have to see a couple of friends in France.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of friends in Germany. And see where I land.
So it sounds like you've got a bit of an adventure coming up.
Oh, yeah. My dog better get used to planes.
Well, he seems to get used to most things.
And so have I, because I've never been on one.
You've never been on a plane? Oh, wow.
I've never had a passport.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, that...
I still haven't.
Right. Well,
My dog has.
I haven't had a passport since 2000, I think mine ran out, but I'm looking at getting one this year because there's a few places that I want to go if I can get the funds together to do it. But yeah, it's going to be a hell of an adventure for you then. So
yeah. And my fella is hiding upstairs. He's going with me.
Awesome. Well,
he's hiding out the way with the camera.
He's hiding. Oh, no need to hide. There's only me and you talking, and a few people listening on Facebook.
Yeah, I know, but it's boring for a minute. And I can't expect him to want to be part of this. He's not been part of this for the last 6 years.
No, fair comment.
And he's only been in my life for the last 6-7 months when I've been dormant from all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I can't expect him to put up with it. And I had said that this was done with. I just come back to warn everyone, do not donate the inquiry. And one thing I found out when I contacted BBC, to tell them that I was withdrawing and did they want to handle the story.
Yeah.
Roger Pinney, who is a fantastic journalist, lovely man, and he handled my first BBC interview with Wales Today.
Okay.
He turned around and got in touch with the inquiry and said that he was in touch with one of the call participants looking to withdraw and that there were several grievances needing airing. And they wrote back to him with a support phone number. one that apparently had been given to David Enright of How & Co. 2 years ago to pass on to all the survivors. When Roger sent it to me, it was the first time I'd seen the bloody thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what, Kaz, I've just got a message here about somebody needing a little break, so we'll just put a song on for 3 minutes, and we'll have a quick break, and you come back and tell us all about that. So just gonna play a little song here, and we'll be back in 3 minutes, folks. On Spreaker at spreaker.com/user/Raconteurs News. You can also find our podcasts on YouTube. I believe they're on Stitcher. They're on iTunes. They're on all kinds of little places all over the internet. So there's all these podcasting sites. If ever we get one, we always sign up to it, so it gives you more options to listen. But you can sort of interact with us through Facebook on the Facebook Live. I see we've got Webby's listening there, Mandy Gold's listening, and in the chat room tonight we've got quite a few comments from Super Leads and
Hey, Super.
Do you accept pubes? I'm assuming that's probably Heath. And then John Hull as well. John's a great supporter of what we're doing. Thank you so much. John's always sharing the links and stuff like that. Great guy, John. But anyway, back to Kaz. Kaz, you were just about to launch into a story and we had to have a little comfort break there, so please carry on, mate.
Just briefly, super leads, a perv. Get a life, mate. Right, yeah. The inquiry have a support telephone number that call participants can contact.
Okay.
I was supposed to be told about it 2 years ago by my solicitor. The telephone number is 0203 789 2206.
Right.
That is for call participants within the inquiry. Now, it's been running 2 years. They have over 200 call participants. They've spent over $1 billion now, is it?
Really?
You know how many people? You know how many people contacted the inquiry?
No, I don't, Kaz. How many have contacted them?
1,200,
Wow.
and that includes the other side, the perpetrators, and the insurance companies, as well as victims.
So that's not really a big number, is it? What you might...
No, it's not exactly fiscally viable.
So how do you think that the number of people who've contacted the inquiry is so extremely small when, from what we all seem to know, it should be much larger than that?
I have no idea. But somebody is playing silly bastards,
Well,
and nothing is ever going to come from it.
right. That's always been a concern. I mean, we've had you on over the years. We've had Mickey Summers on. We've had Andy Mackey on. We've had quite a range of survivors on, that, all with different stories to tell, and they have all been hanging their hopes on this inquiry. And my fears...
No, I never have.
Well, some of them seem to be as it's our only hope. Now, I see you're moving away from it.
It was the last hope, but I always knew it would come to nothing,
Yeah.
which I always said all the way through. I just wanted to be in there to see how far they would carry the sham. And for me, it's too far.
Uh-huh.
And I'm done.
Well, I
got emails from my solicitor over Christmas when everyone knew I was on sabbatical, I wasn't answering anything, I wasn't doing anything. Tell me that the inquiry wanted all my social services records the following day. No phone call or anything, just an email, one email
Yeah.
to scan and email all of my documentation. So I wrote to them and I said that they'd contact the inquiry because somebody at my solicitors had probably called.
Yeah.
And they would have to wait for me paperwork. As it happens, they're still waiting.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, something that I wanted to say when we had this chat on air is that over the years that I've come to get to know you, I have had nothing but respect for your tenacity and your single-mindedness, and also the depth and the thoroughness of your research that you've been doing, because you've unearthed things that I just thought nobody would ever find or get out there.
Thank you.
But I will also say,
God.
I will also say, Kaz, that respect has not diminished one bit because you're walking away from this inquiry. In fact, I would say it's probably even gone up, because to be able to say, well, okay, I know this is going to come to shit. I've had enough. I'm walking away. I'm going to live my life. That is something that I think is took incredible strength for you to do. And I really, really think that's a big step that you took. And I think, from what I gather, you've had some stick because you've turned your back on the inquiry. And I think for anyone to do that, I think that's people who haven't really thought through what you're doing and why you're doing it.
I got stick for attending it, never mind ditching it. So no matter what I do, I'm damned. So fuck everyone.
Well, if you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, you might as well do what the fuck you like and please yourself.
Fuck everyone,
if you can't please yourself, you're never going to please anybody else, are you?
No.
That's right. Yeah. Too often we say about people, there's too many people out there trying to help the world when their whole life's a mess around them, and without you've got some sort of grounding and some sort of solid base in your own life, it really is a pointless exercise trying to help the rest of the world, because you're setting off on the wrong foot, and you're just going to dig yourself deeper and deeper in that hole that you're already in.
Yeah. I mean, as it is, the inquiry have another call participant now for Bryn Allen. They got that last year.
Oh, right.
The guy hasn't waived anonymity, so I can't disclose who it is. But I know there is another call participant now for Bryn Allen. So my obligation to that is done. I'm not the only one there now to stand up for Bryn Allen.
Right. Sorry, this called participant, just to make it clear, is a survivor of abuse in Bryn Allen,
yes.
Not a member of the staff
No.
or ownership of Bryn Allen, yeah?
No. He's another ex-resident.
Ah, that's good, yeah. I was a bit concerned when you said that.
I can walk away without any remorse.
And you
Well, obviously there's going to be some, because I haven't seen through the job set out to do. But after being suicidal in London twice last year and nothing coming back from the solicitors or the inquiry to check on my welfare, bollocks to that.
No, I remember the time you're talking about, and I remember it was a terrible time for you, and it was heartbreaking seeing what you were going through and not knowing any way in which we could help. You know, that...
You know, after that, I got 2 emails from my solicitor. One, 2 weeks later, to ask if I was okay. And one, 3 months later, to tell me that the inquiry would no longer fund accommodation for me in London. So would pay my train fare, pay my expenses, but not accommodation. Because I'd opened the mirror in the hotel. Which I'd always admitted to.
Yeah.
Nobody ever turned around to me and said, here's the bill for the mirror.
Yeah.
If they had have done, I would have quite happily paid it, because it was my fault, and I admitted that to everyone. I quite openly said I broke the mirror.
Yeah.
And a cup. With the mirror.
Well, I think for anyone who cares to look
But
at
to
it...
turn around and say they wouldn't fund my accommodation
Yeah.
for any future visits to London, bear in mind they wanted me to go down and do weeks at a time for the public hearings.
Oh, so they wanted you to commute daily?
Sleep on London Bridge.
Jesus.
It would have been better than that first hotel they put me in, though.
Well, yeah, you showed me the pictures of that. But, I mean, for anyone who cares to look at this chain of events, the more you look at it, the more obvious it looks that...
They don't want us there.
Someone or somebody doesn't want you, and you in particular, taking part in this inquiry, because from the way I see it, is because you're such a good researcher, And also because you are a very eloquent speaker, you can. I mean, I've seen you give your public talks. I mean, I've shared no end of times the one that you did in Telford. When we were over at Real Change Leeds, there you had the room. I don't know, 400 people or so. They were in total silence, and
Apart from the ones that burst into tears, yeah.
yes, well, the only thing that broke the silence was the tears, and yeah, there was a lot of people reaching for the tissues, and I must admit, I was very close to that.
But none of that was even personal information.
No.
You know, I mean, a lot of that was about Keys Group. Keys Group are the main childcare provider in the UK. They are managed overall by one guy in Northern Ireland, Gordon Patterson. He runs a not-for-profit company, or companies, that all feed back into one that is suddenly for profit. The childcare bill in 2015-16 in the UK that looked after children, that is children in care under social services, was 1.8 billion. His profit margin was 0.6 billion.
That's a lot of money for not-for-profit companies
not
to
for
make.
profit,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
The two directors he had in place for a good 7-8 years, that were in charge of a total of 71 companies. Both of them, brother and sister, twins from Ireland, both born 1st of January 63, ever laughing, Mark Murphy. They both retired on 31st of July 2017 from all 71 companies.
Oh, was they
Which was just after I gave my paperwork to the inquiry that outlined everything in the Keys Group.
Yeah, it seems like they jumped before they got
Keys
pushed.
Group was formed out of Bryn Allen. Norman Wainwright and Richard Groom, both former directors of Bryn Allen, moved up to Shropshire, where we had one of the homes, and they took over Milverton Park, which was in Craven Arms in Telford in Shropshire, well, just outside Telford. And out of that became Caldwell Care, which then became Keys Group. The last property that I know the group acquired was Prospects for Young People in Wrexham. Prospects for Young People started out as Petrosite in the Bryn Allen community. It left the community in the 80s when the 90s, early 90s, when one of the directors walked into work and handed in a load of paperwork that said he was taking it because of all the investigations that were coming in. And he set it up as Prospects for Young People. When I filed with North Wales a couple of years ago that there was wrongdoing within Prospects, the police went in, Stephen Elliott and another director had to step down. It was then taken over by Prospects for Young People, by his group, bought out by Mark Murphy and Heather Laffin.
Right.
So that is Bryn Allen community rebuying all the old properties of Bryn Allen community.
Yeah.
Get this one. They have 2 special schools in Wakefield, West Yorkshire,
Okay.
either side of the city. Yeah, now we're talking a busy city, is Wakefield.
Yeah.
Good, what, in rush hour traffic, 20, 30 minutes to drive across it?
Across what?
Wakefield.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a good 20, 30 minutes across the city to get from one side to the other. 2 special schools, one either side. Same headmistress,
At both schools?
Yes.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, I really would change my name if I was a Jenny Little Boy.
That.
Come here, little boy.
Oh dear, dearie me. Yeah,
You would change that, wouldn't you?
you would.
Especially
Yeah.
going to work at school. But yeah, 25 to 30 minute drive in between the two schools, special schools that she's headmistress of. Both have around 35, 36 students with 3 health professionals and 5 tutors between them.
Uh-huh.
That's not a lot of staff for special needs children.
No.
With a severe problem going up in one school and then one suddenly kick off in the other,
Yeah, it's
that's a bit fucked.
logistically, it's a nightmare, isn't it?
Mm.
Wow. The more you look into
It
this,
begs belief.
they're just failing those special needs students.
And the parents that put them there with trust.
Of course, yeah. We have
And
got
the whole system.
We have got a question from the chat room. It's gone now. I can't stroll back far enough to see it. But I think it was Super Leeds was asking about that interview that you mentioned with the BBC journalist and was asking, is that available anywhere online? They'd like to have a look at that. So rather than give out the details now, you're going to give me some links to post on the show notes afterwards. If we can include that in the show notes, then we'll be able to share the link with people so they can check that interview out, won't they?
Yeah. If it's still available, it's on my YouTube channel.
Right.
BBC have a nasty habit of removing everything.
Right. And can you just give out the name of your YouTube channel, Kaz, please?
It should be Kaz Tigger.
Kaz Tigger. T-I-double-G-R.
T-A-double-G-R. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
As it's spelled in the book. Not how Disney spell it.
Right.
And I've got a boyfriend sat here laughing at me. Because I'm so adamant it's T-A-double-G-R.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a big kid. I don't care.
Well, we're all big kids it's somewhere inside. I mean, if you...
biggest kid of all? My mother. It was her 70th birthday the other day.
Go on.
I bought her because she loves striped teddy bears. Yeah.
Mm.
But have you seen the price of them fuckers?
They're a bit pricey, aren't they? Yeah.
But I found her because she also loves elephants.
Oh,
or
right.
effalumps, as she calls them.
Mm-hmm.
I found her a little sky effalump.
Yeah.
So I bought her that.
Oh, awesome, mate. Well,
She thought so. She burst into tears at me.
yeah. Well, we're nearly at the end of the first hour now, Kaz. So I'm going to be having to. What I would normally do is invite you to stay on the call, but because I'm going to need to use Skype for the other two lads, I'm going to have to cut you off at the hour. So we've got about 6-7 minutes. If you'd like to take the rest of that, and if you'd like to wrap up for us with any more information you might have, and also links to information that might be used for people who are carrying on with this campaigning.
Yeah, no problem. Right, all of my information, all of my research will stay where it is on my old blog, which is brunellenvictims.blogspot.co.uk. The link will be given to Andy, and he'll put it on an appropriate post.
Yeah.
Anything else I've got, I will upload and put wherever I've got space. My old website, fightingback.org.uk, has gone dormant now because I ain't paying for a fucking domain name when I ain't doing any work.
No.
Bollocks to yous. So everything will be reshared to all my old domains, which are all linked off the old blog anyway. When I do go, which is not very far off, nothing will be updated. And sorry guys, but a lot of you won't have contact with me.
Well, that's
Some of
understand.
you will.
Understand.
And those that
Sorry, Kaz, go ahead.
those that do are the ones that are fucked, basically. You're never going to get away from me.
Bless you. We just got a little remark here from the chat room, and it's Crappy Leeds. He said, "Can you say to Kaz that he's sorry if he's offended her? Because I believe he proposed marriage to you last time." Well, I was about to say to him, if you're going to upset
he
Kaz,
hasn't offended me, but he's still a perv.
Well, I think he knows that, but yeah, no worries, mate. Well, I'd just like to say a big thanks for coming on, Kaz, and giving us those updates. And I'd like to wish you all the best for the future from all of us here at Raconteurs News. And I'd like to say thank you to all the contributions you've made over the time that we've been going. You've been a regular guest. Sometimes the conversations we've had have been quite heavy and quite wearing, but I think we've always managed to get through it with a sense of humour.
Well, yeah, I always have to try and find a laugh out of your boring old shit.
Yeah, so just thanks for everything you've done, Kaz, and just have a wonderful life.
Easy life, my friend.
So, right, what we're going to do now then is we're going to play another one of these excellent tunes that Kaz has picked for us. I'll find another one to go after it, and then I'll be back after a couple of tunes and a comfort break with Aid Hardy and Paul Webster. See you then, folks.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Kaz, and see you later.
And I did not understand how I used to stand under all the fool's rules running these lands. I had my head in the sand and I was asleep. Now I learn a little more every day, and I'm waking the sheep. Gonna say it out loud, say it proud, get it out, 'cause I'm burning inside, cannot hide it no more. I'm a raconteur too. Yeah, I'm a raconteur.
So what's the problem, what's the matter? Well, I tell you what's beneath me open side. I'm not religious, superstitious, inhibition goes sometime I think and things are going to be alright. And somewhere down the line in a different time I might find that I've lost my mind. But until then I'll get stuck in, can't win so I sin, but that's alright. What's the matter with the world today? Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. What's the matter with the world, I say? Well, no one give a fuck about the word that you say. What's the matter with the world today? Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. What's the matter with the world, I say? At any given second, it be taken away. Back page of some magazines, say my hopes and my dreams could be mine if I wanted. News channel and that TV screen, so we could be dead in a week, and I don't think I want that. I'm lost, I'm lost. No matter how many countries I might cross and so pissed off. Gucci politician, tell me where do they get off? What's the matter with the world today? Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. What's the matter with the world, I say? Well, no one give a fuck about a word that you say. What's the matter with the world today? Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. I said, what's the matter with the world, I say? At any given second, it be taken away. Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. What's the matter with the world, I say? Well, no one giving a fuck about the word that you say. What's the matter with the world today? Well, no one seems to think that things will be okay. I said, what's the matter with the world, I say? At any given second, it be taken away.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News. Thanks, Kaz, for bringing us up to date in the first hour there. And I'm sure we'd like to all wish Kaz all the best for the future. We've got some links upcoming when she gives me the details for the show notes. And here's the second half. And I'd like to welcome along two more of our Raconteurs News. We've got Paul Webster and Aid Hardy join us. How you doing, fellas?
I'm good.
I'm good, Andy, thank you.
Nice one. So,
although I think that Webby's probably got the noisiest chair and desk and door in the world.
I think the noisy door might be Jason's, but hey, there you go.
That's probably his back door.
Oh, let's not talk about Jason's back door. You know, we had enough with his boil on Sunday, didn't we? So there's an awful lot going on in the world right now, and there does seem to be an awful lot that is being concentrated on that is either made up news or total trivia, and the real hardcore stories are not getting touched upon by the mainstream media and the masses that seem to still be watching mainstream media. So, I mean, one thing that has come across our radars is the appalling state of what's going on in Gaza. I mean, they had a demonstration against the occupation of Gaza and the way the Palestinians are being treated, and a few stones got thrown, so the Israeli army thought that was a good excuse to kill 15 and machine gun was it 200 or so?
400 I read.
Whoa, I mean, it just beggars belief, but the mainstream media they're just ignoring this. They're still going with the Skripal and, you know, somebody put a nerve agent on a door and oh yeah, it's nearly killed these people, but well, maybe you should let them die. And but then now you've got coppers stood in front of that same door with no protective suit. You know, the guy was wandering about, started puking on a park bench, yet the park bench wasn't sealed off for I don't know how long. I mean, it's just a complete load of bullshit, isn't it?
Well, they've even, RT even posted today about Litvinenko. They've already, they're claiming that the US and UK killed him as well. And, you know, when all you start putting all, if you look at them separately, you can make different excuses, I suppose, to justify things that it would be Russians. But it just seems a little bit too well organised. Do you know what I mean? It seems too convenient. And as you said, Andy, you've got a police tape that separates, and that's all it is, a police tape separating the people in hazmat suits from a fireman who's just in his ordinary outfit.
Yeah.
And where the park bench where this guy's thrown up everywhere. You would expect, if they're wearing hazmat suits, you would expect nobody to be in that area. Never mind, I know police tapes, you know, seems to protect everything from everything, but you know, it's these little things, and it makes you wonder why, while we're looking at that, what's going on. And as you've just said, they've buried 400 people have been opened fire on. The Israelis have admitted, actually, that the whole intention was to open fire with live ammunition on these protesters, and then it was quickly deleted. You've got Israelis saying that they want to kill these people who know better than dogs. Do you know what I mean? At some point, you've got to pull your head out your fucking arse and think, do you know what? There's something not right here. There's something not right.
Well, if we go to the, excuse me, if we just look at the thing with the park bench and the poisoning, how many days was it before anybody even appeared? You know, in any kind of protective suit. It was about 4 days, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, oh God, you can't go near there, and it's all surrounded. And I mean, what about them 3 or 4 days? Where were the other people that would have been infected if that was the case?
Exactly.
That's the first thing. You know, for me, all they're trying to do is, you know, Putin's the next bogeyman, and you know, the Americans. Why do you think the Americans are in Syria? It's not anywhere near Russia, is it? Well, it might be. You know, I mean, can you imagine if the Russians, well, what is it, 160 something American military bases not on US soil in the world?
Yeah.
Or is it 160 countries they're in? One or the other?
I think you're right with the army bases. Russia have put their country right in the middle of all the American army bases just to provoke them.
How rude is that? You know,
the dirty bastards, these Russians. They're very provoking.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
but you look at what they're doing, and all they're doing, they're just trying to start the war with Russia, and all they're really doing, it's like you said, if you join the dots up and look at all the stuff, let's blame Russia for, let's blame Russia because somebody who owns Google, who's mates with somebody else who owns Facebook, well, there's only really 5 of them, isn't there, on the old bloody internet. Let's blame them for getting all this stuff out there. And it was really the Russians who did all the pillaging of information on Facebook. It must have been the Russians because they must have wanted Trump to get elected. What a load of shit. It's just bollocks. All they're trying to do is get everybody to hate Russia even more than a lot of people do, and why they would, I don't know. Because I know some great Russian people. And that's all they're trying to do with that. And all the thing with, all the anti-Semitism and all the rest of it. A Semite, it's a language. And what they are is anybody who's saying anything against, or what they say about the Israel, it should be anti-Zionist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with Semitism.
No, I had. Oh, go on, carry on, Eddie. Sorry.
And this isn't 2 subjects. This is 1 subject, because the Russian thing is all about war. And how many times did Cameron say that he was? Oh, I'm fully committed to Israel. Oh, well, his mate Netanyahu then, eh? He's not really a Zionist, is he? Not. For fuck's sake.
Well, I had this conversation with somebody today because he's a big Corbyn fan, my friend, and I was saying, I walked in, I said, you anti-Semitic bastard, how are you doing? He went, oh, don't get me started with me. I said, come on. I said, all these remarks are meant to be anti-Semitic. I said, some of these people in the Labour Party are actually Jewish that have been saying these remarks. And there is truth. It doesn't seem to matter. I mean, I saw an article where David Icke was reading the definition from the statutes about anti-Semitism, and it's basically anything. If you just bring up a question about anything, you're not calling people names or calling people out. You just bring up one question. You're anti-Semitic under that law, and it's again, what is it that's being hidden? Because it's illegal in countries to bring that question up because it's anti-Semitic. It's illegal. What the hell?
Because the label they give it is anti-Semitic, where it isn't. It's anti-Zionist, and Zionism is a political view. It's
exactly.
It's not a religion. No. It's fuck all to do with religion. It's fuck all to do with Jewish. It's fuck all. It's a political opinion. So am I not allowed to say then that I think that, I don't know, the monster raving loony party were a bunch of raving loonies? Or am I being anti-Semitic by saying that?
No, because I'm not sure any Semites were actually in that party. But the thing is, for me, I thought a Semite was an Arab. So a Palestinian would be a Semite. So if I was anti-Semite, surely I wouldn't like Palestinians or Arab people. But the majority of the Jewish people, these Ashkenazi Jews, are of European descent.
Yeah.
Now, that if they're not Arabs, how can you be anti-Semitic? I think again, it seems to be every time if anybody in Europe brings up questions about Israel or Jews, they're anti-Semitic.
No.
They bring up the Holocaust to beat people down, and with America, it's anti-Semitism with the Anti-Defamation League and all these people. 2% of the American population. 2% of the American population are Jewish, and they control over 75% of the House in Congress and everything. It's bonkers, man.
The anti-defamation. Just think about that for a minute. Anti-defamation.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I mean, hello, yeah, all right then. Have you heard what the Jews that they're accusing of being anti-Semitic? Have you heard what they're labelling them as?
Self-haters.
Self-haters. I mean, I don't mind a bit of self-abuse now and again in private,
Jason doesn't normally wait till he's private.
No, he doesn't. He just, that's right. But I mean, it's just ridiculous because all they're doing they try and label something as racism when it isn't. It's nothing to do with race. I don't like the Zionist bastards because they rule the fucking earth and keep us lot all scraping around for crumbs on the floor. And us lot is everybody else who's not a Zionist.
Yeah.
And it's, Zionism it's political. It's nothing to do with anybody's race, creed, color, religion. Nothing.
You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, not at all.
No, of course you don't.
Not at all. But the thing is, it's not the religious thing. Jews, it's not a religion. It's a race of people, and
that's right. Yes.
Whatever this race of people practice, I mean, some people I've spoken to, and I'll be honest with you, I can't say I've met many Jewish people, because the people who I've met, especially the ones who have turned out to be Jewish, they don't walk around saying, I'm Jewish. The same rate that people don't walk around telling me that the Catholic or the Church of England or that the Muslim, it's not part of the subject unless we talk about it, and I actually ask that question. But is it the Talmud or is it the Torah? The Talmud is all is all doctrines written by scholars, rabbis, and some of the stuff in that doctrine is as racist, if not more racist, than stuff that is brought up either out the Old Testament or the Quran. So, I don't think anybody's got any moral high ground when they're trying to hide behind religion. It's a man-made construct at the end of the day. Go on, Ed.
No, I was just going to say that, when I was in New York, if you walk sort of around Fifth Avenue and about 35th to 40th Street, it just is all the Orthodox Jews, with the hats and the long side of it. Yeah, the ringlets and all that. And they are so polite. Mm. They are such lovely people. And they've got, it's not just jewellery shops, it's like a jewellery arcade where you walk into what you think is a little shop front, and there might be 80 jewellers in like an arcade inside this building. And every single one of them, you say, can I just have a look at that Rolex for £10,000, please? They'll just pick it up and give it to you and put it in your hand. I mean, I'm sure they've got security in that. But just really, really lovely people. They're earning a living out of jewellery and whatever, and really, really nice. But then you walk round to Little Italy, and they're really nice people. And same in Chinatown. And it doesn't matter where you go, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
But to say that, anybody who says something against somebody, oh, you're being anti-Semitic, it's a load of bollocks.
That is a load of bollocks. As soon as people start calling people names, it makes me highly suspicious about anything. If you bring it up, especially if it doesn't seem to matter whether you've got any truth or any facts. When it comes to anti-Semitism, as soon as they label you anti-Semitic, people drop people like a stone. Mainstream media, you're never going to get on mainstream media when you've been labelled something like that. And again, I think we had this conversation, didn't we, Eddie, over the weekend with the lads, where mainstream media is basically even media like what we're doing now, because there's more people finding out information from platforms like this than they'll ever do on the BBC or anything like that.
Yeah,
well, the dangerous thing about mainstream media, it's aimed at folks with a reading age of about 7 or 8 years old, pretty much the same as The Sun. So what you've got is this story about anti-Semitism, and when you look in it and you find out what a Semite is and what Semitism is and anti-Semitism, it's clearly all made up bullshit. Then you've got the Russia side of it, and you've got Vladimir Putin, who has been described by a lot of people, and I would say it's a fair description, as among world leaders, he's the chess player.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got Donald Flump, and you've got, Theresa May, some of the worst leaders. Trump, I don't know what the deal is with Trump. He may turn out to be a good guy, he may not.
He's a puppet.
It's all seems to be in the balance and could go one way or the other, but they're not real big, deep thinkers, I don't think, either of them. Trump, there may be more when you scratch the surface than there appears in the first place. But Vladimir Putin, okay, so he's got a spy over in England that he doesn't like, so he's going to go over to England and poison him and make it look bloody obvious and a botched job. That would never happen. If Putin wanted somebody wiped out, I'm sure he could do it in a very quiet and discreet way. And if it was done, I doubt it would ever be mentioned on mainstream media, because it would all be kept nice and quiet, kept out of the way. But because critical thinking is something which is not only not taught, it's positively discouraged in all areas of life. You've now got the vast majority of a nation are swallowing this bullshit. And until we can get people thinking critically and saying, well, hang on, that's what they're telling me in the news, but if you put that with that, it doesn't make any sense. Until they can start doing that, we're never going to get a serious, open and honest debate on anything, are we?
You see, nowadays, it's not only looking at mainstream news and thinking everything they're telling me is shit. It's now a case of they're now not talking about this, why not? So, the only reason I would watch mainstream news is to think, right, okay, well, all of that's obviously the opposite, but they're telling me that, so what are they not telling me about all the other stuff that's going on?
Yeah.
That's what I find interesting to look at. As soon as a mainstream story breaking out, I just hit all the other news sites to see what else, if anything, has been going on. I think a lot of it is this Russian thing, but I don't know how much longer they can actually think they can get away with what they're doing to the Palestinians. It's so well documented now, and you can't keep. I mean, they justified it because the protesters threw some stones and rolled some burning tyres in their general direction. I mean, how far is this off Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I fart in your general direction. Oh, you better blow his fucking head off. Palestinians playing football on a beach, kids, and snipers think that that's fair game. It's a bit of a laugh. This is not acceptable by any other country. We would be going, well, the Americans would be going in and giving them democracy right up their fucking rigger. But what do we have here? Nothing. We've got nothing apart from, oh, it's a shame. Oh, it's a shame. Why can't they just get along? Well, they can't just get along because they're not meant to get along. The Israeli establishment, and it is not all Israelis, and it is not all Jews. That is, that may be something that people get thrown at them. It's ridiculous, all that kind of shit. When it comes down to it, you've got people protesting everywhere. You've got Jews, you've got Muslims, you've got Catholics, you've got everybody from every walk of life who will come out and say that's not right, yet nothing happens. You've got Israelis on the streets, hundreds of them, protesting what has happened at the Gaza Strip. So even in Israel, there's people protesting it. But it's like you're saying, Eddie. What else can happen? What else has to happen to actually make people challenge and do something about it? And it's not a protest. We've discussed this. You've got to apply for a license to protest something. If they don't like what you're going to protest, you're not going to get the license, and the police are going to come and be dickheads like they normally are, because the police are purposely put in there to not understand what law is. They don't understand anything about law.
No, and with the media and love him or hate him, David Icke does make some good points.
Mm-hmm.
And he is good at dissecting stuff, and he is good at working out where all the dots join. And he's not the only one, but he does tend to do it the quickest. Of all the ones that I sort of watch to get information. And it's just like everything else. you need to take out what you need to take out, but leave in there what you need to leave in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
A good point on the subject of the news media and the bullshit they put out. Kaz has just brought a good one up that we discussed a long while ago, but it slipped my mind. And it was about the day that Leon Britton supposedly, we'll do the air quotes for anybody who can see us on Facebook, supposedly died. And that day, Kaz uncovered a website that had posted news of Britton's death 3 days before it actually happened, but it was hurriedly deleted. But she's got a copy of that on her website, and the link is in the chat room right now. So
you find this quite a bit, don't you? You find this quite a bit, particularly in the false flag stuff. I remember, and I'll say it, Sandy Hook. When I bring Sandy Hook up these days, I usually get the reply, Sandy what?
Yeah.
But with Sandy Hook, there was several memorial pages already set up the day before that shooting actually happened, and that is just like that is that much of the information that's come out about Sandy Hook. People don't realise there's multi-million-pound lawsuits gone in regard to that. People who lived in the area don't live there anymore. All these empty properties where these families lived, one was bought for $1. If this stuff isn't true, then let's all investigate it and show it's not true. But you were shut down. You can't investigate. People couldn't investigate it over there at the time. I think it was the police captain that said we're sick of hearing about these conspiracy theories, and we're going to start going around and arresting people who are posting things on social media to question it. It's very dangerous precedent.
Well, for anybody who don't believe in false flag and stuff like that, just look at the date of the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And how quick was it after 9/11 that was all brought in?
Well, that was already written.
It was already written years before.
Yeah, already.
Years before.
I think it was the PNAC document that said that, they basically said that the agenda to get the New World Order in place was going to be a long one unless there was going to be some type of Pearl Harbor event. And straight away, what was 9/11? It was America's new Pearl Harbor. That's what they labelled it. And people, was it you, Andy, who were bringing, or was it you, Eddie, who brought up about the newspapers? Was it you were talking about the scum? Was it you?
Andy was on about the scum.
Andy, yeah. Well, when you look at these rags, it's basically all pictures, and those pictures trigger. And it doesn't even matter that you're consciously looking at those pictures. Subconsciously, they trigger those built-in mechanisms. So it's like you see Jeremy Corbyn in a photoshopped Russian hat, and then all the anti-Semitism stuff. I mean, I have people who call him an IRA sympathiser because he wanted to try and create peace. Now, I certainly don't know what the full agenda is behind that, because I know that the establishment and the IRA, at some level, at least, integrated with each other at some level because of all the information that was coming out. It's if these type of radicals want to be, if they want to shut these type of people down, they could shut them down. They could stop all the arming and the funding, the arming, the training of these people, but they don't. And then they want us to panic and say, yes, please take away all my rights. I know you'll give me back at some point. Bullshit. People have got to take some responsibility. You can't just keep looking around and saying, oh, somebody else will sort it, or, it's not really that bad, or you're a nutter because you think that. You can look at any one piece of information and say that's a load of bullshit. You can even poke holes in it. But when all this stuff, all these dots join up, then you've got to start asking questions, and people panic.
I go into a sandwich shop once a fortnight, just on the edge of Wakefield. And I order a sandwich, and of course there's a newspaper sat there. And sometimes it's the Sun and sometimes it's the Star. Right? And the first thing I do, just because it's on the counter while the lady's making me sandwich, I turn straight to the page with all the Dear Deirdres. And about the third time I went in there, the woman said to me, the only page you ever read is the, Elk page, the Dear Deirdres. I went, yeah. She went, why is that? I says, it's the only bit in it that's true. And she says, what do you mean? I said, it's the only bit of the newspaper that's true. You certainly don't believe all that shit on the first few pages, do you? And she just looked at me and she went, what do you mean? Well, let's put it this way. 2 years later, she certainly knows a lot of stuff.
I bet. It's, I don't, where do you go with it, guys? We've talked about this so much. You can only just keep going over it. You keep pointing it out. People understand it. People who I talk to understand stuff that's going on, but they justify it somehow, and they either justify it to themselves that they don't have to do anything, or they can't do anything. But I believe that if I'm at least trying to put my own house in order, then I have to change reality by doing that, because it's going to change my reality, and therefore if my reality is changing, the other reality has to change, because when I changed my reality, I lost people, like I said, good friends, just gone. Don't speak to them anymore. So I am changing reality. Does it mean I'm saving the world? I'm contributing to what I believe is right. I'm trying to do what the right thing is, amongst all the shit, amongst all the fear, and amongst all the abuse and the attacks that people do, because, I got sick a long time ago of people keep wanting proof. Fuck you. Go and do it yourself. Fuck you.
The only way you can get proof is when they start leaving you alone. And that's there are no certificates, no badges. There's no gold medals. You're not going to win in court. Why would you? There's not one officer of the court who swears an oath to you.
No.
He swears it to the crown and what's on the fucking wall. Well, why would you turn up for a game of football when it's fucking cricket rules? You're going to lose.
Exactly. And what's the point in questioning the cricket referee about football or rugby or whatever? You see, this is what the problem is. But people think that somebody else will sort it. It's not affecting them, but it's when it comes to knock on your door. It's been to my door. I didn't want it. I didn't look for it. It came to knock. Are you going to pull your pants down and say, please pull my pants up when you finish bumming me? I can't do that. I had to take it on. It cost me everything. Materially, it cost me everything. It could have cost me my life, but for good people and family that I had around me that kept me going. It's a scary place to be, and I do get the fear thing, but people are still refusing to learn something new just to harm themselves.
There is sort of one silver lining for me, and that's the fact that I haven't always had the mindset that I've now got. Maybe you haven't, Andy, you haven't, and I know Jason hasn't.
No.
And let's take David Icke for instance. He used to turn up to places and there'd be 3 people there if he was lucky.
Yeah.
Now he sells out 20, 30,000, and the local authorities, like in, I was going to say Nottingham, but it's not, is it? Is it Alfreton, where he's from? Somewhere down there.
Leicester, originally.
That's right, Leicester. Yeah, sorry, Leicester, a bit further south than Alfreton. Leicester, and the local council won't allow him to speak.
No.
Because, the local police and everything had put the absolute shitters up the people who own the building where he was all booked in to speak, and won't allow it. So, that is good. You want to get flack when you're over the target, don't you?
You certainly do. And that seems to be happening a lot. There's a lot of people using that phrase at the moment. You know that when you get in some kind of attack, you've hit something, you've hit a nerve. The information that I deal with, it's a bit more difficult, because how can you debunk global commerce? How can you do that? You know what I mean? How can you debunk that? How can you argue against it? You know, how can you argue that the fact that anybody who is trying to pay a bill with money, so they've got debt in one hand and debt in another hand, and you put that together, you get double the debt, and people wonder why the national debt doesn't go down. It's because they're not acting as they should be acting, because they don't know how else to act. You know, it's fundamental to life.
The truth is, the national debt's not supposed to go down.
Exactly. That's what the point is.
The national debt is supposed to keep going up, so that you, me, and everybody else who's not one of the top Zionists ends up scraping around for crumbs.
And
that's how it's supposed to be.
And then what do they do, Eddie? They then say, oh, well, what we'll do is we'll sell this off, we'll sell that off, we'll sell the other off. And people before long, if they don't understand that they're the actual owners of everything, they're the creditors, if they don't get that, they just automatically think, we've got nothing. And then what do they pass on to the children? Well, they pass on nothing. And then their children will pass on nothing. And before long, they only need 2, maybe 3 generations. And I've just noticed an article today that they're on about, the army are on about taking poor children in. What are you going to do with these poor children? Build them up and make them great people? Or are you going to desecrate them, break them up into old bits, and then inject the fucking soldier that you want into them?
Break the man, inject the soldier.
That's exactly what... I was talking to a mate of mine who's not long been out the Royal Guards, and I was talking about how they break them down. He says, yeah, and he used that exact phrase, break the man and inject the soldier. And I said, so how does that work with you now then? I said, if you get in a confrontational situation, is it not possible that all of a sudden that man that was broke, the soldier comes forward, and before you know anything, you've gone into automatic mode and you've done... He says it happens a lot. He says it happens a lot.
So if you just take that to the next stage then, and anybody who says that, oh, you know, nobody gets brainwashed. What the fuck is what we've just been talking about for the past 2 minutes? It's brainwashing.
Of course it is. And if you're going to... They want the children younger and younger in the education system. If you're now going to take children who they believe are coming from a poor background, which has been socially engineered by these cunts who want to put the kids into a military background, I'm lost. I'm lost with how people can justify this bullshit. And some people are really close to me who just go, oh, no, I've not got time to think about all that. I just don't get it anymore. You know, you're talking 2018. Where is time going? The last year went like that. This year, it's coming up for nearly halfway through. Now we're 4 months into this year.
You know, the other thing that I did want to bring up today, as Andy knows, I've spent half the day trying to connect my computer through an Ethernet cable rather than rely on Wi-Fi, which for me meant a trip down to my local Maplin. Now, here, along with a lot of the rest of the country, as I understand it, there's snow. It's the 2nd of fucking April, and we've got daffodils growing in fucking grass verges that are covered in snow.
Yep.
What the fuck's all that about?
Interesting enough, after we'd finished our preview show last night, I'd clean forgotten that I promised I'd have a chat with our guest who's coming on tomorrow night, Alan. And he brought up that very subject. Now, he was saying he grew up as a lad in Scotland, and he remembers distinctly in November, that was the time when you got your sledge out and you started playing snowballs and stuff like that. Now, you never see snow before January, do you?
No.
So the winter has moved 3 or 4 months. Yet nobody seems to be talking about it. Nobody seems to have even fucking noticed.
I had a I was watching something on, I can't remember what it was the other day, and it said that one of these states in America used to be on the equator. And I'm thinking, what? The fuck's all that? Oh, it's moved. Okay, what's moved? The equator, the fucking country? Did some thieving pikey bastard pick it up? And I can say that, because I am. Did some thieving pikey bastard pick the fucker up and shift? What? How, can anybody explain that to me? Because am I being thick, or I mean, have things moved? Is it just something that was indoctrinated into us when we were in school and we didn't ask a question? Did I not turn up at school that day to be indoctrinated? What is it?
There's definitely something strange that's gone on there, because I know Greenland. I mean, I think is it the Piri Reis map or even a map before that Greenland's actually mapped without ice. So there's something changed geologically within, whatever time span we're looking. Some people think that this world's only maybe 3,000 to 6,000 years old, and it can't be. Or should I say we are, but maybe only our documented history is that long. These are the questions that people have got to start asking. If the equator's moving, is this like geological? Is it, because you've then got to put your faith into all the tectonic plates and stuff like that, and land masses actually physically moving, which, have we got documented evidence of that? Some people say yes, and then you've got the other people who say, well, no, it's not like that. Some people think it's dimensional and things like that. So we can't, without an open debate, Ada, and as you just hit the nail on the head, you're coming from an indoctrinated system that when you ask that system questions, you're ridiculed or put down or marked badly because you've not regurgitated the textbook properly. That's not learning. It's not, certainly not critically thinking. And, the education system, it's like the Nazi education system, that it's all about an indoctrination, about a belief system. And you've got people who have promoted this and put money into it. Rockefeller even stated that he wanted a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. And that's what the education system does. It pumps out people. What do you want to do when you grow up? Well, like sit in the field and maybe just watch the day. Oh no, you can't do that. Can't do that. You've got to go out. You've got to get a job. You've got to do this. You've got to do something. And it's about all. And your mum and dad tell you to do that. And your grandparents, look at what your granddad did. Look at what your dad's doing. You've got all this pressure to do something. And do you know what? I think I was 37, maybe 40 before I even thought what I might have really wanted to do with my life. It certainly isn't what I've done. I wouldn't have wanted to do what I've done, but I'm here, and the knowledge that I've gone from doing that has put me where I am. I just want to share that knowledge and share it with like-minded people who want to make this world a fucking better place. That's it. There's no agenda apart from making the world a better fucking place, and you're making it against people who want to make this a shithole world.
Well, I still don't know what I want to do when I leave school. And I'm 52 years of age, and I think, like you, Webby, why can we not just be nice to each other? Why can we not just help each other?
Sounds too easy, doesn't it?
Well, it is, yeah, but what I'm saying is, it is easy.
Yeah, I believe. Go on, Andy.
Well, there's something just popped up on my timeline as I was having a look at the Facebook feed as you were talking there. And why can't we be kind to each other? This is somebody we only had on a couple of weeks ago, and thank you for bringing her on, Paul. I'm looking forward to seeing her again. Lindsay Davis has just posted, I'm currently in the process of setting up funding for pound homes for the homeless. There are roughly 65 million people in the UK. Imagine if only 5 million of those donated £1. I could purchase bedsits all over the UK and do something our government fails to do. We could almost eradicate the homeless situation nationwide. I'm about to start a national campaign. I make zero profit It's not a business venture. I'm preparing a video over the coming weeks to set up the campaign. I will constantly promote it through comedy and my other endeavours. I hope to get people on board. What is £1 as a one-off payment, really? So I've just put Lindsay a message on there saying get yourself back on Raconteurs News and we'll certainly do our best to help spread the word. So that's what we can do. That's the sort of thing that people, when they put their mind to it, they can be kind to people. And it's like I said about paying it forward. Don't expect a return for it. Just do what you're doing because it's the right thing to do. And you know it's going to make a difference. And the universe will reward you in ways that you'd never dreamed of.
Exactly. I'm a big believer. If you can help yourself, because if you come from a position of wanting to help other people when you need help and you've not got yourself onto an even keel, then you're not going to be able to help anybody. But when you're on an even keel, you may only need to have to help one person, and that one person helps another, and that one person helps another. So you start a chain reaction by just helping one person. Lindsay's done all that off her own back and is making a difference. Now, will people want proof? Will people start attacking her? Where's all the money going? Come on, let's just get behind people.
I tell you what, I watched. This does link in. This just isn't my brain running off at random tangents, although it does a lot.
Mine too, mate.
Yeah, I watched something that was Daisy pointed me towards this the other night, and it's you can go on YouTube and watch it, and it's called Sand Smugglers. Sand Smugglers. I don't know if you've watched it, but basically it's all about sand and where it comes from when they're building. Now, the reason I've ended up here is because there's a load of buildings in Dubai, you know, these massive big apartment blocks they're building that are, in a lot of cases, completely uninhabited.
Mm-hmm.
Completely uninhabited. Or some of them have got like 10 or 15% people living in them. All the rest of the apartments are just completely empty, yet they continue to build. And sand smuggling is basically, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Where would you think all the sand has come from that has built Dubai?
I don't know. I know it's been imported, but I wouldn't know where it's come from.
Andy?
I would imagine from poor countries.
Pretty much. Now, you would think that there's a lot of fucking sand in Dubai.
It's the wrong kind of sand.
It's the wrong kind of sand, because it's not sharp sand. All that sand's been blowing around for that many years that all the edges are rounded off, so it don't stick to anything.
Oh, Super Leeds reckoned you might have got the sand from his foreskin, but hey.
Oh, no, come on. Fucking old stew. Now, what they effectively do is they get a huge big dredger and they just go out into the middle of the ocean and they just suck it all up. Because that's the right sort of sand they need. But, of course, don't forget that up that pipe comes all the ecosystem from the seabed.
Yeah.
Now, this is so bad, there's 20-odd islands, and I don't mean like a little island. I mean big fuck-off islands that have just disappeared. Yeah. Because as they take these, all this sand that they need for building, it causes a dip. Now, the natural thing says that the sand underneath the sea levels off, but of course, where does it come from? It comes from the high point eventually, and the high point is the land or the island. So there they are building the Palm and the World and all these places in Dubai, and effectively all they've done is stolen an island from somewhere and rebuilt it.
Well, do you know what? Yeah, that sounds like the same mentality at our turning the clocks back. type of insanity where, I'm sure it was, I can't remember where the quote comes from now off the top of my head, but it's only British or the Western countries think that they can cut 2 inches off the top of a blanket, sew it on the bottom, and think they've extended the fucking blanket.
Well, that's supposed to be from Native American, which would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. It was
seriously,
Native American.
For anybody who's not watched Sand Smugglers, now, the way you got to think of it is, if you look at land, anything above ground level, anything that's been built contains sand.
Yes, of course.
Now, if you look at, I don't know, think of a big one, Manhattan Island. You then look at, I don't know, Sheffield. You then look at Liverpool. And if you sort of in your mind think, that's a fucking lot of sand, that. Yeah. Now, they're even digging up landfill sites to get the glass to smash it up to use it as aggregate because they are literally running out of sand.
Yeah, I can see where we might be getting the shortage of sand from, particularly with the progress in high-rise buildings, and they do seem to be going up all over the world at an alarming rate. But one thing that seems to be getting glossed over and missed out on here is concrete has a very, very short lifespan. You know, most concrete, 20 or 30 years, and it's well past its best, and it's looking at replacement. So some of these buildings soldier on a bit longer than that, but eventually they crumble. So rather than destroying the entire seabed ecosystem to build these buildings with sand, I'm only a simple old washed out lorry driver, but my suggestion would be, let's start growing hemp. And let's not use sand to make concrete anymore. Let's use bloody hempcrete, which doesn't decay after 25 years and it's completely useless. It loses its structural integrity. It gets stronger, and after about 20 or 25 years, it turns into bloody stone. It'll be there forever.
Well, here's a thought. If you put sand that's come from a salty environment into a building that's got steel reinforcing bars in it, what eventually will happen to the steel rebar?
It'll not be there.
Well, it basically infects the concrete and the building gets concrete cancer. And so then the building has to be brought down. A bit like on 9/11. You know, when they decided to knock these buildings down because the bill for getting rid of all the concrete cancer and the asbestos would have been fucking phenomenal. So it's easier, let's just knock it down anyway. And the fact that 3,000 people die on the day, well, it's fucking irrelevant, isn't it? If your name's Bastardstein.
Yeah, but exactly. But having said that, for $100 million investment, he came away with best part of $7 billion in insurance. So,
well, yeah, but you know, I mean, when the port authority say that you've got to build another building like for like, I mean, what you got to do? You got to claim on the insurance twice, surely. You know.
Well, it was two separate. It was two separate terrorist attacks, weren't they? That's what he claimed. He tried to claim the two lots.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, because we all believe that, don't we? Fucking hell.
Oh, I've just noticed we appear to have a bell end joining the show.
Yeah, listen, I were broadcasting live on Facebook Live, your show, which has been awesome, the bits that I've heard of it. But we're broadcasting live, and I'm just sat up here, I just come up, and I thought I'm just going to go and check on it, make sure it's all going okay. And then suddenly, everything just went off. So I've got 3 different devices here that are linking this up. I've got a computer which I do the Facebook Live on, which is linked into a webcam which I point to my Samsung tablet, which then people can see your lot, and it goes through my mixer and everything. And everything just went off. My laptop, this laptop was trying to find an internet connection for BT when I'm on Sky. And I know that's a terrible thing to admit to, but that's what we're on. We just got to deal with it, guys.
Yeah, but other shit internet providers are available.
Not fucking shit. And then the tablet, I was trying to put your Johnnies away, for fuck's sake, Ada.
I've been packing for the holiday.
What, 2? Is that all you fucking need? Fuck's sake. What you got?
I'm only going for
20 quid.
I'm only going for a fortnight.
He's only taking fucking 20 quid spending money. He's all inclusive in hotel, and he thought that included fucking.
He's got one for the first week, one for the second week. What does he want? What more do you want?
Well, anyway, back to your computer crash, Jason. Here we are. There's 4 blokes. I've just posted it in the chat room. And in 2 days, while we've been on air or within minutes of going off air, we've had 3 complete computer wipeouts. My whole thing locked up yesterday. And I've got quite a powerful system. I had it built specially for doing what we're doing. It's never taxed by what we do, but it locked solid and just was making a brrrr noise. I had to switch it off. It took me, I think, about 3/4 of an hour to get it to reboot. It just would not, nothing would happen. Then
it's the same this end. Mine went just after yours on the.
Yeah, as soon as he went off air, Paul got it. Jason's had it today, but I suppose if we said people were interfering with us, that would make us look paranoid. But that's what seems to be the thing to do if you're an alternate radio host and your computer goes fucked up. Oh God, they're getting at me! I'm being hacked. So.
Yeah, we're not like that anyway. Listen, it's because we're only an amateur operation, and the stuff that we've got is shit. Let's face it, we're not on broadcast quality fucking equipment, any of us. So these things fucking happen, and you know, you don't want to be going, it just seems to happen every time we do this and do that, because you can't. There's nothing you can prove, so you might as well just point it out.
Well,
this happened last time we did this.
No, it could be the Russians. It could be. Hang on, who else have we mentioned tonight? Russians, gypsies,
Mossad,
Semites. Who else have we mentioned? I know David Icke. It could be him.
Midgets.
Yeah, no, we didn't mention midgets, but now you have. Who knows?
Who's going to blame the Palestinians then? Somebody's going to blame the Palestinians and threw a few stones and everything.
Well, let's face it.
To ask a question. I want to get back onto the dwarfs. I think there's a
I bet you do.
Going on. And you know these politicians that you've got, I think they're robot-like machines, and they're being run by these dwarfs who are like sick of being, well, looked down upon.
Hey, I know who it is. I know whose fault it is. It's Colin. Colin the raccoon. Where is he?
He's here. He's having a bit of a kip. In fact, I think he's been pissed off at Bank Holiday weekend. So, yes.
So, Colin is a raccoon glove puppet because it's Raconteurs news. So we're going to blame Colin. But then again, does that mean we're anti-colonist?
No, I prefer the idea with all politicians being robots that are being worked by dwarfs. I think that makes a lot more sense.
You see, I've only come on for the last 5 minutes, and already I've turned this from an average show into a slightly above average show.
Just by inserting dwarfs. Brilliant.
Listen, there'll be about 10,000 YouTube videos on it tomorrow. Dwarfs inside robots that are like, you look at it, tapping on me on top of head to get me attention. You're not going to be doing that anymore, are you? No, because I'm in my super suit, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make you pay. It makes far more sense. Listen, I think it's got as much credence as the old lizards.
Well, I've just noticed an interesting aside there from Honda 404 in the chat room, which I believe is Melvin, and he's noticed that the Diddy men have gone AWOL, so that could. There's your answer, mate.
No. They're down in the Jambuti mines trying to earn some money. That's what they're doing.
That's just
Yeah, but without Ken being here now, they might have no direction, no leadership, so they might have, maybe one corrupt dwarf has taken over the Diddy men. You never know this.
Yeah, you never know.
Or am I being anti-Semite? Are there
No.
any Jewish dwarves involved in the Diddy men?
no. I think you're taking advantage of the fact that Ken Dodd's dead, not his
Ken
dad's dog.
dog's dead.
Yeah, Ken Dodd's dad's dog was dead, wasn't it?
And just as an interesting note, maybe we could discuss this to wrap the show up. Kaz, our guest in the first hour, has put a little comment in there, and she said, "Can I just say, Ike is a plagiarist." Any thoughts on that?
For anybody that I'm sorry, I know I'm not even supposed to be on here tonight, but for anybody who's going through a hard time at the moment, and I don't mean this to be any, just to spare a thought for Ken Dodd's dad's cat.
Because he never got a fucking mention.
Poor cat. Well, that's really ended the conversation, that, Jason. What else? What was it you wanted to talk about, Andy?
Yeah, we were just going to wrap up with David Icke is a plagiarist. Discuss.
Okay.
Well, I think we've had a plagiarist on here.
Well, let's face it.
Don't start again, brilliant.
let's face it. A lot of people who write books in this sort of field, most of what they write is other people's quotes.
You've got to get your information from somewhere at the end of the day. As long as you're quoting it as sources and putting your own opinion in, I think it's possibly it's difficult to avoid being classed as a plagiarist when you're getting your information from other people, because if you're not getting information from other people, you're either actually witnessing it firsthand yourself or you're creating it firsthand yourself. So I think there's a bit of plagiarism going on with everybody. It's just that when that, for want of a better word for it, a plagiarist is asked questions, are you able to then put substance to what you've been writing about and have an opinion on things and be able to deviate from one subject to another?
Well,
I suppose
Kaz is just posting in response to what we're saying that, and it's something I've heard from other members of David Icke's forum. He said his forum was populated by thousands of researchers, all of whom contributed to his work, all of whose work was used, and he used my work without citation. And what's Webbo think about his chances tomorrow? Oh, that's from Super League, so that'll be a football one. And who asks Ike anything?
Well,
yeah, to be fair, if you're going to use other people's work and cite that work, then really you've got to give them credit. There's no argument with that. And I think anybody who's not doing that is being ungracious, and technically I think they're breaking the law as well.
I think, the books that I've read, and he has, there's a lot of sources that he does quote in there, but I mean, to be able to maybe quote every source that you've ever looked at, maybe that's difficult, I don't know, but maybe it's something we can find out.
Well, I'm definitely a plagiarist, because, everything I know because I've watched and read things that make sense to me now.
But you critically think about them, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But if you take it, who's that Canadian singer who sings all the real good-looking kid or whatever, and he sings all the old Sinatra songs? What do you call him? I can't remember his name.
I know what you mean. You mean Harry Connick Jr.?
No, not him. The one who come after that.
Celine Dion.
Who?
Celine Dion.
Celine Dion, for fuck's sake. No, he sings like Tony Bennett. He sings all the old Tony Bennett songs and the Sinatra songs. And...
Bublé.
Who?
Bublé.
Bublé, Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't fucking believe you fucking know about him, man.
No, but listen, Bublé, he doesn't sound like one of them. He sounds like all of them. And the reason he sounds like all of them is because in his research, when he wanted to sing this sort of stuff, he didn't just listen to Sinatra and then be a Sinatra impressionist, because that's plagiarism. What he did, he listened to all of them, and that's research.
And then became whoever Michael Bublé is.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I'm not saying that anybody who's written a book hasn't plagiarized in some way, because I'm sure they have.
I don't think you can help it.
I think it's when you directly quoting someone's work, it's a copy and paste job, and you've clearly took that person's work and passed it off as your own. That's what plagiarism is. It's not developing your opinion or your thoughts through what you've learnt from reading other people's stuff. That's a different kettle of fish altogether. Plagiarism is stealing other people's work, not giving them credit for it, and passing it off as your own. And to me, it's a fucking stinking trick. I'm not a writer. However, I never will be. So, but if I was a writer, I'd be well pissed off if somebody had done that to me.
If in any other environment, I would say that plagiarism was bad. However, if all we're trying to do is pay it forward, like us, then I don't really give a toss if I get credit for something or not, because all I want to do is make the world a better place. So, if in the future I come up with an absolute belter that wakes up, oh God, I hate that, but everybody else in the Western world suddenly realises what's going on because I've come up with a little phrase that's done it. I don't want any money for it. Plagiarise it as much as you fucking like, because all I'm bothered about is that the world's a better place. But for anybody who's done a load of work and then from not to get recognition for it, fine, if that is something that upsets you, I don't blame you. For me personally, as long as it makes the world a better place, and anybody wants to plagiarise anything I write or whatever, that's absolutely fine by me.
AD, you are almost like a saint. In fact, I think we should sanctify him now and make him into a saint. Should we do a campaign like on Facebook or something like to turn AD into a saint? Because
listen, I don't like being. You know what? I don't like being called Mr. fucking anything like that. I'm just Aid. I'm not Mr. Hardy. I'm just fucking Aid. I'm just
Saint Aid.
No.
Saint Just Aid.
You what, sorry?
Saint Just Aid, or would it be just Saint Aid?
No, neither of those. None of the above. Badges, we don't need no stinking badges.
Saint Aid of Scunthorpe. The only saint with cunt in his name.
That was what was missing from tonight's show, Jason. You just, you've not.
Yeah, just when you needed a cunt, Jason comes back upstairs, doesn't he?
No, but for anybody who has done a load of work and all they're actually bothered about is making money off it, well, that's not why I'm here tonight. I don't think that's why Andy or Webby or Jason are here tonight. I don't make any money by sitting here and having a rant. It clears my chest a bit, but none of us do it for any money. We do it because we hope that the little bit that we do goes in the right direction, and nothing more than that. But for anybody who has had work plagiarised, then, you know, I accept why you would be upset about that, especially when somebody else is then going to financially profit from it.
Damn, I knew I should have patented that bills of exchange stuff.
Super Leeds wants to know, was it you that put the cunt in Scunthorpe Aid?
No, but there's no cunts there anymore because I live in fucking Sheffield. Well, actually, I don't. I live in northeast Derbyshire, but, you know, just...
The posh bit of Sheffield, then?
There ain't a fucking posh bit. Well, there is a posh bit. It's called Chesterfield.
Hang on, is that not where Paul Joseph Watson comes from, the posh part of Sheffield?
Paul Joseph who?
Watson.
Who's he?
He's the one who, a so-called an independent reporter.
Dan Bostock Senior.
Who?
Daniel Bostock Senior. It's Daniel Bostock's dad. It's like, that's what it is. You've got this, like, can you imagine this scenario where you've got Paul Joseph Watson walking down the street holding the hands of a child, like and you've got Dan Bostock's face looking up at him, and they're smiling at each other and going, yeah, Muslims, Muslims, we hate Muslims, it's all Muslims. That's the cartoon that somebody needs to make. If there's anybody who's in the chat room who's good with doing GIFs or something like that, that'd be a great GIF. Paul Joseph Watson holding the hand of a small child with Dan Bostock's face, and them looking at each other and grinning inanely. So that's your that's anybody's task for this week.
I'm thinking about having a Russian hat with the Jewish ringlets, what they call, sticking out the bottom of it. Do you think that would work?
Ooh, I think that'd be anti-Semitic.
Do you think they'd let me get on a plane, or do you think I might get stopped at customs?
Are you talking about
Listen,
them, like, sausages that they have coming out of their hats? And they've got like burnt sausages hanging down, haven't they?
Ringlet.
Each side. They've got to have an hat on and burnt. I always wondered why. That's probably why they don't eat, because they've got sausages on their head. You know, eat pork, so they don't eat.
What's he talking about? Anyway, I just want to pick up on.
I don't think that's kosher, that, Jason.
Oh, I just want to pick up on what Kaz has written in the chat room. It's not about the money; it's about the acknowledgement of research, and I can completely and utterly get that.
Paul, I'd just like to say I will shut up about it if that's what Jewish.
I know we could go on all night.
I know I talk about this a lot, but there is a fabulous book which you can just go on YouTube and read because somebody's narrated it. You don't even have to buy it as an audio book. And it's a book by Larkin Rose. And he actually copyrighted his own book just because he didn't want anybody else to be able to do it. He didn't intend to actually copyright it. He just copyrighted his book so that nobody else could copyright it.
That's unbelievable.
Sorry, bro. I tell you what, I bet listeners now who are still listening in, I bet they're like sat glued to the seats.
Are you being sarcastic, Jason?
No, I'm just skinning up. It's your show, man. I'm just all I am is I'm gate crashing. I've just come in. I'm like, you know, that bloke. You're at a party and that and sort of thing, and everything's going well and everything, and then this bloke bursts in, pissed up from pub, who's absolutely hammered and starts going around and upsetting people, all your guests, and then you end up your party. He goes, that's me. I'm that guy.
Yeah, but worse than that, you've got a fucking microphone.
Yeah. I know.
That can be quite scary sometimes, yeah, thinking, what the fuck's coming out of Jason's mouth next?
Mate, I'd rather him have a fucking microphone than a camera sometimes. I'm just reading an article here from February the 12th, 2018, from The Times. And I don't know where it's come from, but it's just turned up on my newsfeed. And the title is Labour Bans Straight White Men at Conference. Labour is facing an inquiry from a watchdog after barring straight white men from inequalities conference. Those attending the Young Labour conference in March must self-define as one or more of black, Asian and minority ethnic, a woman, disabled, lesbian, gay, bisexual and trans.
Well, that's easy enough.
If you're a straight white male, you can't go. That's what it seems. If you're a straight white male, you're not.
That's why they do it though. That's why they do it though, Paul. Is so you act like that, and you'll say, right, well, I'm a straight white male, but why can't I go? Why can't like some go? Would you be going anyway? No. So fuck it. And I know I sound a little bit Neil Sanders there. Giving it the attention then sort of like makes people feel like there are certain people that won't look at that. They will look at that and think, oh, I'm a victim on this because why should they be doing this? And I'm just getting no. It's fucking. That's just what. That's the reason why they're put there. You just ignore the cunts. Fuck them.
Well, I'm a lesbian trapped inside a man's body, so.
I've been a lesbian for a long time.
Well, you see, all this nonsense, it's just all to confuse people. And, and you get it, and it's not just to confuse people. It's like I said when I talked about when I had that encounter with the transgender, the thing that came and did waited upon me in the in Frankie and Benny's, and I didn't know how to react. And I can understand that perhaps for him it's going to be also he's going to be a little bit nervous, so it puts us both onto like an edge. And then when people get onto that edge, they're trying to find a way where they can tip that edge towards them, so that they appear to be either a victim of something or completely innocent of something. And instead of people just going and being able to say, hang on a minute, you've got a skirt on, you don't look much like a woman to me. Well, yeah. What's going on?
Well, I've told you before about the postman I had at my last address and how he sort of started to turn up wearing a skirt, and I ain't got a problem with that. But it was a case where me and my neighbour both did a double take, both looked at each other with the what the fuck look, and then it turns out that he was waiting for his he was allowed to wear his own clothes until his uniform turned up that he got to wear, which was female. But I see a lot of female posties, and they all wear shorts and a polo shirt, just like the blokes wear shorts and a polo shirt.
We had a postie round the other week when it was snowing, and he got shorts on. Yeah. I thought, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and if you see a postie without shorts on and an iPod in his ears, there's something wrong, isn't there?
As long as he's got pants on, I might not put too much thought into it, Ed.
Yeah. But, my point is, the guy who was delivering, who wanted to dress as a woman, and that's his choice, I ain't got a problem with it. Me and him me and my neighbour did give it the what the fuck look, but the point is, he wanted to wear a skirt, but apparently, and I asked this down at the sorting office when I went to pick a parcel up, none of the other women who work there wear a skirt. They all wear shorts. So he's trying to identify as female, but almost taking it too far. Yeah. Further than a female does, who works in the same environment. Which I found. I still to this day don't know what to think of it really, other than it's up to the guy what he wears. I don't give a shit. I still get my letters delivered.
Well, it's what Paul was saying yesterday. It's all about identity politics, isn't it?
Yeah, and and why can't people just be allowed to be people?
I think they are, but that some people can't identify as themselves. They've got to identify as part of a group because there's obviously some kind of issues within themselves. They can't identify as that and be on their own. They've got to champion something. But when they're championing something that is going to affect me then I don't want that to be championed. And if I'm going to be forced to refer to somebody by law with compelled language, then I think that's a slippery slope. I don't think anybody should control my language. I can edit myself. If I want to say cunt, I will say cunt. If I don't want to swear, then I won't swear. If I want to use big words, I'll use big words.
Well, if somebody ran into a room and knifed somebody and ran out again, and the police came and said, "Hey, can you give us a description?" What am I going to say? If it was a bloke dressed as a woman, what am I going to say? It was a bloke dressed as a woman.
Well, you can't say that.
She had pink hair and she looked a bit butch, so I'm guessing she was a lesbian. I mean, can I not just say, well, she was about a size 14, 16. I don't know what that is in male measurements. She was about 5'5" and she'd got dark hair. But are you sure she was a woman? Well, if you mean, did she get a tackle out? No, I can't. But, how are we supposed to describe somebody? Well, it's ridiculous.
Descriptive words are just being taken, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly so.
You got it perfectly when you asked the question, why are we not allowed to just be ourselves? Because if we're all allowed to be just men and women, just what we are, then all of a sudden we go from being many, many disparate groups to one fucking big group.
Exactly right.
And
it's
they're
just
scared shitless.
It's exactly right. All they do is just divide and conquer.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's a lot. There's a lot of talk about the gender pay gap. Women earn less than men, and there are so many more reasons than just difference between sex, why women may or may not earn as much or even sometimes more. But if it tends to be that if men and women are left to decide what they want to do, you can have all these things open to people, engineering, nursing and stuff like that. The mass majority of engineers, no matter what, seemingly, if left to people's own devices, will be male orientated. But that doesn't mean women can't do it. It's just women don't seem to choose that if they've got the option to become physicians and nurses and stuff like that. The mass majority are women. I don't know why that is, but empirical evidence shows that is the case. But then you're forcing people into doing things. I mean, I know guys who are hairdressers, and when they were my age and they were leaving school, they were all told that they were gay and this, that, and the other. We've got families, we've got kids. They're good hairdressers, but that's not a male orientated profession as such. Especially when I was growing up, it wasn't.
No.
Jason, you were laughing.
I was just laughing at him saying that he knew a lot of hairdressers. Now that I could believe. I've seen on Google Earth outside his house. I think there's about 3 or 4 different small mini convertible type things, and a couple of them Suzuki 4x4s that are parked outside this. So we understand that. Webby. You've probably just got a lot of hair issues because you are probably one of the only ones out of us that's got hair. In fact, no, you're not. I'm the only one out of us that hasn't got any hair. So
no, mate, I'm not too far behind you, pal. I've just not got the balls to whip it off.
I just keep cutting mine off. I wish it didn't grow back. It'd save me a job, but it keeps growing back, unfortunately.
I just want to read something. This was first pointed out to me. Jason and I and some close friends used to run some meetings in Sheffield. And it was all to do with the sort of thing that we discussed on Raconteurs News. And one day, Jason and I got talking about scanners in airports. And Jason said to me, "Oh, don't fucking go in them." And me being Mr. Naive at the time said, "What do you mean? You've got to." And he went, "You fucking haven't." And then somebody said, who just happened to be listening to our conversation, said, have you never read the inside front cover of your passport? So this is what it says, and I'm going to read this.
Yeah.
And I'm quoting here directly from the inside front cover of my passport. Her Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires, in the name of Her Majesty, all those whom it may concern, to allow the bearer to pass freely without let or hindrance, and to afford the bearer such assistance and protection as may be necessary. So now, when I go to the airport and they say, get in the scanner, I stand there and go, no. What do you mean? I don't consent to that. And when they say you've got to get in your scanner, and my bag's already disappeared with my passport in it through the X-ray machine, I pull out one of the 6 photocopies that I've got of that in my pocket, and I stick it under the nose and I go, read that. And not once have they insisted that I get into the scanner. I just get the guy pat me down and wave me through.
You've got the right to just be patted down and not go through those scanners. Just some breaking news going here, lads. They're about to launch SpaceX, the Dragon cargo carrier to the ISS. It's on countdown now.
Dragon.
Oh, is it?
Dragon cargo carrier.
Dragon, there is a brilliant lead-in to tomorrow night's guest. But, by the way, I've got some even more breaking news, and it can't be an April Fool's joke because it's too late and she would know it. But Kaz just messaged me saying that Winnie Mandela's dead.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
So is that... Are we going to have some Mandela effect and she died 3 years ago and shit like that? We're bound to.
No. I know what it is. I've sussed it. She just wants to see Ken Dodd's dad's dead.
That's easy for you to say, mate.
Fucking different together, all the matter.
Oh, yeah. What a bonkers world, lads. What a bonkers world.
Yeah.
And Super Lead says he loves us, and we love every one of you out there in listener land.
Oh my God, here we go. Sounding like a fucking pissed up late night DJ.
Well, apart from the DJ bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since Winnie's farted, and I don't think there'll be very many real South Africans that are going to be shedding a tear for Winnie Mandela. Perhaps now the eyes of the world will again go on to South Africa because there's some pretty unsavoury stuff going on down there. So there's some good comes out of that evil bitch. Obviously, she's going to be looking up at us now and thinking you're trying to use me death and all that sort of thing. But hopefully there'll be a little bit more focus on South Africa.
Yeah, there's. I was reading a lot about that, Jason. It ranges from, well, they deserve it because of what the whites did to the blacks in Africa and all this kind of caper, to, well, hang on a minute, yeah, you're right, there is karma and all that bollocks, but why can't we just draw a line under it and let's all get on? It just sounds so simple to do, but I just don't know what the answer is anymore.
Can I ask a question? Is any one of you three or anybody in the chat room ever fucking disgusted of the fact that I have to go abroad and be fucking English? With the history that us bastards have done all over the fucking world, the lives we've destroyed, the places that we've fucking stolen, the democracy we've tried to fucking indoctrinate all over the world, that, works about as well as a fucking square wagon wheel, and all the things that we've stolen, everything that we've fucking done throughout the world. For a tiny fucking island, we've caused a lot of shit and left fucking mayhem everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. It
doesn't even seem to stop, though, does it? You see, because we've got this nature, like we saw with the football hooliganism in Amsterdam where they were chucking beer on tourists and chucking bikes into... Anyone who's been to Amsterdam, you know, it's a beautiful city. It's a lovely city. And what really got to me about it was how much money they must have spent, because the booze is extortionate in Amsterdam. It's extortionate. I remember... before I got married in 2009, me and Heath went for my stag do, because he's my only mate, really. You know, I didn't. Adi were still a bit straight back then. So anyway, me and Heath went to for my for like a bit of a do before I got married. And what a beautiful place! I mean, the place where you could sit and have a beer and have a smoke, and the gates, the windows would be open on the buildings, and late at night, and there were kids walking. There were families walking up and down. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock. There's families walking everywhere and going to different places and doing great things. And then you see, you get these yobs because we've got such a sense of identity, so that the people that identify as British see the history that we've got, and they want to go and recreate that only in a modern situation. And it's really is sad, a sad indictment of how we've never learned from anything that's gone on in our past.
Just a bunch of fucking hooligans.
Well, Jason, I was talking to two Russian lads who were actually in jail for football hooliganism, and they basically said to me, he said, because I was talking about English hooliganism, he says, there's no English hooligans. He says, and his words, he says, they're a bunch of pussies, and they cannot wait for the World Cup. He said the Russian football fans over there, the ones who you're talking about being hooligans, he said they're training for people to go over there. There's going to be fucking mayhem. And I know we've got some tasty lads. I know quite a few lads who were part of football firms from years ago. They do like a ruck. But these fucking Russians, man, are crazy. It's not, let's have a bit of a fight and see who wins. This is, you're fucking gonna die. It's gone to a whole new level. And then, Jason, as you were saying, they're going into a town, into a place like that, and they're just, it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. It's like a thug version of a flag waver for me. You know, I don't like this patriotism that you've got to love your country, because if you don't love your country, then you're not a patriot.
I'm not, fuck your country, fuck your flag. I'm just me. Yes,
that's what it's got to be. If you've got to, again, it's identity politics. I don't have to identify with a pirate flag. I don't have to identify with a queen. I don't wish to, because they've done the things that the establishment has done. They haven't done it in my name. They've done it to get. I mean, and you can't say that. You know, we do not sit. You know, there's a lot of people in poverty in this country, which there shouldn't be. We are heading towards a bloody third world country if everything goes as they want it. But we are sitting on top of the misery of millions of other people. The drug wars, if we can't see that the establishment have made so much money from drug wars, and now there's a war on drugs, it's just a continuation of war on drugs. We'll supply the drugs, but then we'll supply the people who are going to catch you with it. It's, you know, it's all theatre. It's all theatre. People are playing parts. The trouble is, most of us don't know that we are extras in somebody else's film, and we've got to start writing our own scripts.
There is one thing that I would just like to say. I would like to know of any government department that has ever been formed, been given a job, and has done such a good fucking job, it's been disbanded because the job's been done.
Yeah, that is brilliant. That's class. That is, Aid.
And if ever there was an argument to be an anarchist, that's fucking it.
Yeah.
Maybe the old-fashioned co-ops, because they got disbanded, and then they got co-opted and fucked off.
I just wanted to read out some of the stuff that's been going on in the chat room because there's been some class comments in there. We've got from Super Leeds. Oh no, it was Kaz. She said when you said you was ashamed to be English going abroad, she said I'm ashamed they let you go. Crappy Leeds said he went to Ireland.
Shame they never let me come back.
Then we've got Kaz then said mishmash. We as a nation are a shower of runny shit, which
yes,
yeah, and not so many called English. I wouldn't fight in a Russian, says Crappy Leeds, so I presume he's about as hammered as he was when he phoned in the other night. I want to be a pirate, says Kaz. Go for it, girl. You're writing the script from now on. You know, you're talking about writing your own script. That's what I'm really chuffed for Kaz. She's writing her own script.
Has anybody, just getting back to what Paul was saying with the football hooligans and the Russians, Jason and I know a Russian kid. I've not seen Richard for a while, but he was a fucking animal. And
Richard was Polish.
Richard was Polish. Oh, I actually thought he was Russian.
Richard Tamborski. You're talking about Remus.
That's it, Remus. Yeah.
But Remus was Ukrainian because I used to greet him in Russian every night when we walked
just
in.
To piss him off.
And he used to laugh because he thought it was so amazing that there was somebody could speak Russian. But go on, yeah, Remus.
You know, I mean, these Russian kids, you know, they go into the Russian military, and you know, I've seen these Russians again on YouTube, and they're being sprayed with CS gas that would fucking cripple any of us, and they just fucking stand there and laugh and run towards it. They're fucking animals.
Yeah, there's a certain breed of football hooliganism, that surpasses whatever the English lads have ever done. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know lads who used to travel for a ruck. They don't even go to the match, some of them. They just go for the ruck and they enjoyed it. But you can see where they get, where Tommy Robinson then gets a lot of his audience, because these people do identify with that patriot type thing. And it's all part of the divide and conquer. And do you know what? For me, the jury is out on Tommy Robinson. I'd like to know why he's either been ill-advised or he is being photographed with Israeli flags and stuff like that, and he's been called a Zionist shill and all this. He says he's not, and he's never going to just come out and say it, even if he was. But some things he has done, if he isn't, he's been ill-advised on. And it looks like there's an agenda that he's either exploiting for himself, it could be even genuine reasons. He could be wanting to make, he's not a stupid man. He's an intelligent fella, Tommy Robinson. But it's how it's portrayed. And the people who are the type of football tribal type identities, that identify with that tribal type establishment, then they'll somehow just, the gravity will pull them towards Tommy Robinson. But there's the divide and conquer. And, we know that the Christians and the Muslim type things, that situation has been written about for centuries, that there is going to be this war, or they want this war between Christians and Muslims. But everything else that falls in, by the way, is going to be a bonus to them. So football fans fighting football fans, great. Irish fighting against English, great. Catholics, Protestants, great. More fight, more better. But as soon as you turn to a certain tribe of people and say, hey, what about their involvement? Oh, you're anti-Semitic, you're disgusting. So you can't have an open debate about anything.
No. Kaz has just put a comment in the chat room. Time team stroke Baldrick Tony Robinson ?
Tony Robinson recently tweeted about Jeremy Corbyn and started saying that I think he said something on the lines that the Labour Party is never going to be united when Jeremy Corbyn's there, and it caused a bit of a stir because he's a member of the Labour Party, and so again we've got that divide thing. You've got the momentum movement within the Labour Party, and then you've got the Corbynites. But the Corbynites have got the vast majority of the rank and file members of the Labour Party behind them. So I don't know what this momentum thing is. I mean, why don't they just fuck off and join Conservative Party if that's really what they want to do? They want to continue with austerity and continue this continuity of agenda that keeps going no matter what colour rosette that the person that gets into power wears. We've got this continuity of an agenda that seems to be ensconced right at the very top, it does appear as though Jeremy Corbyn is outside of that, which makes him a great danger to him. Whether you believe Jeremy Corbyn or not, I don't know. I've not really looked. I don't care. To be fair, for me it's all a fucking pantomime. But you can see how what they're working out. They're trying to. Somebody posted a tweet on Facebook and it said something like, Jeremy Corbyn being a Czech spy, a Russian dissident, a communist, this, that, a fucking spy for Russia and all this, blah, blah, blah. How does he have time to be, leader of Labour Party? And, it's just ridiculous the way that the media is portraying him. And it's not so much that, but I do see people that get caught up in it. And, I think it's a sad indictment.
Yeah, I mean, my view on politics, the furthest left and the furthest right have got much more in common with each other than me, simply because the politicians who start at ground level, the local... There was a leaflet shoved through my door the other day, or vote Labour, and thinking, I can't fucking vote it out, mate. I'm not even on your shitty register. But the people who come in at sort of local council level, I'm sure genuinely do to make the local place better, or what they perceive as better, which might be completely different to what I might perceive as better. Because I once went to a local council meeting and all they talked about was park benches and dog shit. But at some point when they get up there in Parliament and certainly on the front benches, at what point do they realise that actually they're just a puppet?
I think... go on, sorry.
And how... What sort of person does it take to actually carry on with the pantomime when they know that that's exactly what it is? Or are they really that fucking dumb and stupid that they don't realise what it is? I mean, have they never heard of fucking JFK?
I think you've got a good mix of both, Eddie. I think you've got a mix of people who really want to genuinely help locally, but people who think that my old MP, Andy Burnham, if they think that he helped my local town, well, I can't see where he has helped our local town in 4 years. People point at Lee Sports Village, which is Lee Rugby's new, well, it is new compared to the old ground, is a new ground with all these facilities. Elton John's played there. I think we've got Lionel Richie coming up here soon. He's attracted those people to this town, but the town itself's a shithole. It's gone. It used to be wealthy. It could stand on its own. We used to bring up, because in 1974 we gave up sovereignty to another local town for our council. So it's now Wigan Council that Lee comes under. It's so-called Wigan and Lee, but it's Wigan. And, after doing the work I work with, I know that the council has stolen billions of from the constituents of Leanne Wigan, and we don't see any benefit for it. And now they're putting council tax up, and they think that we should pay more for a tax that nobody's liable for unless they live in a commercial fucking property. But you tell people that, and they'll still go and pay council tax because of the fear factor and because of what it involves. It's not easy to do this stuff, but you can't convince people to do it. They've got to get to that point. They've got to hit that wall themselves and then say, I've got nothing else to lose here, I might as well do something. There are people that are doing it, and fortunately throughout history, it hasn't taken everybody to make a change. Do you know what I mean? It's only ever been a small amount of people. And I think if you start with yourself and you start making changes, I don't think you can help but see changes in your life. You just got to talk to people. Those council meetings, what you're talking about, Aidy, those people haven't got any fucking power whatsoever. And the council now, I don't know if you see this, Aid, up your way, but the local councils now are calling the shots for everything, for the police, the lot. They're almost acting like the civil service, but at a local level. Mm. And that's what our problem is. It's not fucking Theresa May. She's got fuck all to do with any power. She doesn't wield anything. The civil servants tell her what she has to do. If she wants something, she has to go to the civil service, and they tell her yay or fuck off. And then if they want something, they tell these people what to do.
Yeah, you know, and I just look forward to the day when people can look at the TV and all the political argument. I mean, have you ever turned on your TV on a Sunday morning and look, and it's the Andrew Marr Show, Politics Today, and it's all that catch up on the week's political news, and it's just all shit. Absolute shit. And I don't mean shit as in not entertaining, because it's the best fucking comedy you've ever seen in your life. And I went through a stage where a few years ago I used to watch Question Time and I used to have real big opinions. And the only opinion I've got about it now is that it's all just pile of shit. Yeah. And I don't mean it's not entertaining. I just think, how can anybody be that fucking dumb to think that any of that is actually, one, real, and two, relevant? Because it's just a fucking superstition. Government is a superstition. It only exists in the minds of the people that believe in it. Just like fucking Santa Claus, and just like the Tooth Fairy.
And just like Gay Dardy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this world belongs to everybody, not just the chosen few.
Yeah, well, I think we are the chosen few, aren't we? Yeah,
but I chose tonight, Andy.
I didn't catch most of the show, but I went up on occasion and just checking to make sure that things were going okay, and then they all fucked up. But how's it felt being back in the old saddle, as it were?
Yeah, it's cool, man. These two have made it nice and easy. As ever with Kaz, she's never short of something to say, so she's been posting stuff in the chat room, and I'll be honest, a little bit stoned, so I really didn't follow what she was on about. But she says, "You're hard work, you guys." I said, "Well, how long have you known me?" But no, I wanted to bring up something, and I was talking about dragons because Paul mentioned them, and I got sidetracked by Winnie Mandela dying. Yeah, so this could be a bit of a Mandela effect thing, but no, I wanted to bring that on to tomorrow night's guest. We've got Alan coming on tomorrow night, Alan Wilson, and no, he's not the Welsh ancient history guy. If anybody was hoping,
is it Alan Carr?
He's a guy with some interesting stories to tell. He's got a very interesting past, and I kind of connected with him on Facebook because he commented on something Paul shared or something, and I spoke to him after the show last night, and we talked for about 2 hours. Now, he started by telling me about what he was doing, but as tends to happen with me in conversations, it went off at a bit of a tangent. And we talked about motorbikes, UFOs, a bit about football, I think, army life. We talked about dragons. We talked about bloody loads of stuff. It was an amazing conversation, went in all directions, so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night.
You see, what you should have done was fucking recorded it so we could have had the night off.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. Well, actually, I've got it recorded. No, it's only because my phone automatically records all the calls. I better delete that one because it'll fill the bloody phone up. But no, it was a fascinating conversation. And what's he going to be talking about tomorrow? Subrogation. He did tell me about it, so I think I put it in the chat room or on the event or something. Subrogation and something else. I can't bloody find the message.
Subrogation and sausage sandwiches.
No. Hang on. Scroll backwards.
What? Bacon and sausage? You see, I've got an issue with the bacon and sausage sandwich because sausages have to have red sauce and bacon's got to have brown sauce. So you can't have bacon and sausage in the same sandwich.
You see, now, if you have to have sauce on your sandwich, you're still a child. It's time for you to grow up. Enjoy the flavour of the sausage that you selected, or the bacon in that case, and then if you wish, pop upon the top of it an egg. But sauce is for children.
And I've got to say, if there's any owners of any sandwich shops listening, if you ever put butter on a fucking hot sandwich or margarine, you're sacked.
Oh, there's something not wrong. There's something not right with you weirdos over there. You put butter on everything.
You fucking don't. You can't put margarine or butter or any other spreadable substance on a hot sandwich.
Fair
Yeah, you
comment,
can.
lady.
No, you can't. No,
Yeah, you can.
Hang on,
It's
I
just
need-
like chips, peas and gravy with buttered bread, mate. Of course you can.
Have you now moist?
I need to interrupt your butty debate here because I've actually remembered what Alan was saying he was going to talk about tomorrow. He said
Go on, Andy.
he's going to talk about subrogation, promissory estoppel, and a few tips for people who might choose to go to court. So
sounds good.
I think that might be one where you guys are taking the lead because you're a bit more knowledgeable on that sort of thing than me, but I'm really looking forward to it.
We've got some more fucking bread things coming in on the chat room now. Listen, somebody just said you've got to put red sauce on eggs. Don't fuck with an egg.
And everybody's wanting to know when's your dog around, so Rodney will be there tomorrow, won't he?
Yeah, Rodney's here tomorrow night, so I'll not be sat where I am. I'll be sat on the
Next
sofa.
week I'll have my new dog, Watson.
Watson, elementary.
Oh, it'll be like fucking Crufts in here, won't it?
No, because I'm not here next
I'm
week.
picking up next Sunday, and we decided on the name Watson, as he's going to be my sidekick. So it's all going to be looking good.
Does this mean we're going to have a pet crash built on the side of the extensive studio that we've got?
Oh, this £1 million studio that we've got that never fucking works.
Well, you see, I were thinking about getting in touch with the pet relief guy again and seeing if I could blag a few freebies, but he weren't very forthcoming last time, were he? So he can bollocks.
Hang on, we've got bread questions coming up in the chat room. We've got to right.
Go for it.
When I was a kid, right.
Bear in mind, we've only got 10 minutes left before the 3 hours runs out on Spreaker Aid.
All right, then. Listen, a white thing of bread that looks like it needs cutting in half and putting a filling in it was called a bread cake or a bread bun. It ain't got any fruit in it, and it's a bread bun. When I came to Sheffield, it became a bread cake, And when I go out somewhere over where near Webby lives, it's a fucking balm.
It is. It's a fucking balm cake.
It's not a balm cake.
You fucking retards.
If you go up where fucking Heath lives, it's a fucking stotty.
Hey, but Webby, a cake is something that's got fucking sugar in it and icing on top.
And Super League Crappy Leeds is saying in the chat room, it's a tea cake, you weirdos. It's not a tea cake, it's got currants in it.
A tea cake's got fucking currants in it and you put cheese on it.
Yeah.
That's what you do with fucking, yeah. Yeah, it's like...
I go to my chipping, I'll say, can I have a chip balm?
No, it's a chip butty.
Or a bacon balm.
No,
or a
it's
sausage
a chip
balm.
It's a chip butty.
No, it is a chip butty. If you put it on bread, that's a chip butty. On a balm, it's not.
A balm? What's a fucking balm? Is
It's
that
what
a
you
big...
put chips on.
No, it's a big fucking wooden building that you put straw in that you can't fucking say right.
No, that's a balm with a November, not a m. Balm.
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 What you put on your lips, you know, when you're like one of them kids that's fucking always ill. And they have to, like, when it gets cold and the lips are
See,
fucking...
Crappy Leeds has spelt it right. BARM.
Yeah, but, you know...
For Crappy Leeds to be fucking agreeing with you, mate, it just...
I know. Hey, at least he's spelt it right.
If we could get them to agreeing, I think we should take over the Palestinian-Israeli negotiations, Jason. We'd soon sort them out.
Listen, I've got a big fucking spanner to throw in here as well. A fish cake. When I was a kid, a fish cake was a mixture of fish, potato, a bit of parsley in it, flattened out, put in breadcrumbs and deep fried. That's a fucking fish cake. I come to live in Sheffield, and all of a sudden, a fucking fish scallop is called a fish cake. What the fuck's all that about? I went to the chippy and I asked for a fish cake sandwich, a fish cake butty, right? And I got this fucking... And I went... So now I go in and go, I don't care what you call it, but I want one of them. And I just point to it. I tell you what, English is such a shit fucking language. We've got 25,000 words to describe one thing.
Yeah. What about battered potato? You know, when they flatten the potato out and batter it, we call them specials over here. What do you call them over in your foreign land?
Scallops.
Scallops. See, the specials over here.
No, it's a potato fritter.
Well, how long have you lived there, AD?
Far too fucking long if you ask everybody else.
Well, the thing is here, I'm wondering how you're going to get on in Thailand, because I always reckon if you move to a foreign country, it's not only manners, but it's the way to kind of fit in is to learn a bit of the local language. And you lived all these years in Sheffield, you haven't learnt fucking Sheffield. What chance have you got of learning Thai?
Listen, mate, the language barrier between me and a Thai is fuck all like the language barrier between somebody who is born in Sheffield and somebody who comes from fucking 40 mile away. Trust me.
Yeah, all he's got to learn is sucky dicky. Sucky dicky. Sucky dicky, resty. Oh, all right. And,
I have to say,
£3.
there are some fab people who live close to me. I've got some fantastic customers, some mega friends, even fucking Jason, because he's from Sheffield.
Well, you'll be there this time next week. You'll be there, won't you, Ada? And we'll probably be doing Raconteurs preview on Sunday. And while you're getting, you're getting your dipstick dipped. you're dipping your wick while you're getting your dick wet. Anyway, shall we say?
Listen, I may or may not meet a young lady, and my dick won't be getting wet because it will be wearing a neoprene suit.
Is the thing. Let's just hope he doesn't pocket dial us while we're on air, eh?
Right. In fact, let's hope he does, because our numbers will go increase incredibly. And listen, speaking of which, when is your friend that likes dogging coming back on Webby?
Lindsay.
Yeah. We were talking dogging last time, remember?
How many friends have you got that like fucking dogging?
Oh, fucking loads, mate. I know loads of people who love dogging, lad.
Well, I don't think you was here when I read out Lindsay's post online, was you, Jason?
No, I don't know.
She's starting a new thing. Well, it looked pretty damn good, great idea. And I just said to Webby, let's get her back on and talk about it. I messaged her on Facebook, so I'm sure when she's available, she'll come on and talk to us about it.
I'll have to speak to her about it, Jason.
Oh, no.
She-
Oh, fuck. Crappy Leeds is doing me head in. What do you call bits? They're fucking scraps. They're scraps.
Fish bits.
They're not fish bits.
Chips and scraps.
They're not. They're just fucking scraps. They're bits of batter. They're not bits of fish.
The fish bits over here.
No, the batter bits. The scraps. Over there, listen, you lot are right weird over there. I don't even know how you've managed to make it to this point in time. But having been to Blackburn and Burnley and to like Wigan extensively over the years, I do understand that you are quite a way behind when it comes to when it comes to anything. You know, Coronation Street for a start. I mean, look at that. For God's sake, they're living in like nicer houses now.
All those places that you've just named, the people are pretty similar to you lot because they've all got 6 fingers.
Hey, nice one. Hey, Webby, high 6.
Oh, dear.
Well,
What
I
about
suppose
Sarah?
we're going to have to wrap this up, Jason, because it's
It's still 10 o'clock.
it's like a minute and a bit, a minute and 10 seconds to the end of the show. So over to you, mate.
Oh, me?
Oh no, you're not on this week, are you? Yeah, we'll be along tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
It's not in this reality. Andy, come back in this reality for 5 minutes.
There'll be us three. Jason's going to be in the background doing the Facebook stuff, and we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, usual places, raconteursnews.com. We're on Spreaker, we're on iTunes and Stitcher and all them things. And have a good day, and we'll see you then.